Right, we'll put it on silent, Garrett, now that the show is actually going live.
That part of the programme where everyone's phone's going brrr.
Hello, good evening and welcome. We are back. More Rugby League chat here on 4020 Live. It's Mark, Phil, Gary and Rich with you through until 8 o'clock. Plenty to talk about. The Challenge Cup debacle. Toronto, well, you're in if you pay for it. They might as well sponsor it. Competition doesn't have a sponsor. They might as well sponsor it. Who knows, they might get a favourable draw through to the next round. What do you make of that? Are the RFL fit for purpose? I think now the genuine time has come to question the RFL and their role in the sport moving forward. Are they yesterday's thing? Is it time they got rid of? Do we hand it over to Super League and let them run it from the top downwards? We'll have a look at that and more. We're talking about Eddie Hearn's recent comments regarding the game. Is he getting the true picture, or is he just getting drip-fed bits and bats from one side of the argument that not necessarily the right side of the argument? We'll have a look at round 2, or is it round 3 of Scoy versus Pearson? Has Hull Daily Mail hit back with their comments, or is it just more cheerleading? We'll find out. We'll ask the legend himself. We'll get your views at home as well. Want your interaction on that and more. We're talking all things rugby league here. As we always do, it's 4020 Live. Pleased to say as well, we're going out live on the road in the new year, and Scott will be delighted because one of our first assignments we're going to home. So we'll find out.
I
would say he's not. 3 of us are going.
We talked about Only Fools and Horses a couple of weeks ago. The big problem was to Hull and back. I'm going to Hull and not coming back.
Well, you always say when it's here, boys here, and we'll find out, won't we, what it's like when it's here, boys here. It's Mark, Phil, Richard, and Gary. As ever, Rich, you were missed last week.
Apparently. Well, I've got some big news because we've had an email come through from the people who put together the numbers, and we may not be like the biggest program. We may not be like the biggest program in rugby league, but I'm pleased to say, on the Apple Podcast charts. Last week in Germany, in the professional category, I think this is Schadenfreude, we are 398th. Sadly, we're down 37 places. I don't know what the German is for flat caps and whippets, but guten Abend, guten Abend to all our German listeners. Wie geht's? Wie komme ich am besten zum Bahnhof Sie bitte? And thank you for listening.
Wow!
I think he just ordered a train.
Yeah.
Is that what you were doing last week? Crash course in German.
Yeah.
Where were you last week? You were missed. People were actually in touch, wanting to know where you were.
German market in Sheffield. Well, I was in Sheffield.
Oh, so you're in German market. Were you ordering some food?
Yeah. From Wetherspoons, because the pubs were shit.
What?
Well, yeah.
Oh, very good.
So I'll be rushing back from Blackpool next week for the show. So.
Very good. By the way, well done to the French Rugby League who've cancelled all their games on the weekend of Barcelona when Catalan will be taking on Wigan. So they're not. The game isn't even in their country, but they're cancelling all the games in their country.
Their fans don't even necessarily support the Dragons, but they realise there's an event.
Yeah.
So we'll put it on at the same time as the Bash.
Which I'll be at because I've got my hotel. So.
There you go.
But 3 positive things to start with. We're really excited
whoa. What's going on here?
Hold on.
You've got the wrong programme.
This wasn't discussed in the pre-on.
Thursday night.
No.
This wasn't discussed.
3 really exciting things.
Scott, are you all right with
this
3
weekend.
positive things on this show? It shouldn't be allowed, should it?
Get
Go on then. Let's get them out,
start.
because we might feel a bit dirty when you said them.
The first one, American football have now started playing rugby league.
They have.
How good is that?
They have. Why do they not do that? This is a genuine question. If any, I think we tweeted out the touchdown last night that involved
Unbelievable.
2 great passes, bit of obstruction, running behind the man,
What do they call them,
whatever
flick
else.
passes or something?
Laterals.
Brilliant.
But I
Leeds
don't
are very good at
understand
lateral passing.
why they don't do that more often. Because if you know, you would have seen it. But in the game, at the end, the Steelers in the late game, they needed a field goal. They're on their own 20. They need a field goal with 20 seconds left. Threw it downfield. Bloke catches it. Takes it, backs into the tackle, offloads it to his mate who runs 20 yards down the touchline. So they're all doing it now.
So American football has realised the joy and skill of rugby league. That's got to be celebrated.
Yeah, all right, we'll give you that. That's one.
There's a new nation going to be unveiled tomorrow morning who are observers of the Rugby League European Federation. Can't tell you who it is, obviously, because they don't want to destroy the excitement of the press release. But another new nation.
Who's that going to be then? Let us know.
Have a guess
at
if you want.
4020 Live on Twitter.
Is it Lee? Have they broken away? Because I got about 700 emails from Lee last week. So it might be Lee Centurions.
Get in touch on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. Let us know who you think the new is. What continent are they from?
Well, it comes under the auspices of the European Federation, but then so does Jamaica. So
Trinidad and Tobago.
I don't give too much away, but there is a new official nation playing rugby league.
Is it Belle Isle? Have you applied for international status?
Independent cricket? Yeah. Claimed independent.
He's going to get his caps up to 50, won't he?
We're just about to be in a power vacuum in rugby league. It's a power vacuum in the country at the moment, so Belle Isle could, just break away. Who's going to stop him?
Well, hey, listen, Belle Isle broke away from me 300 years ago. Don't worry about that, because nobody wants to come to us. we're just a little district where nobody wants to come.
It's a bit like the nation. No. And the third thing, how good were the England Academy against the Australian schoolboys? What a fantastic advert for some of the talent that's coming through at the top of our game. Yes, there's issues with participation and how many are playing overall, but the 17 guys who played for England on Saturday were absolutely superb. Fully deserved their win, went 14-0 up, had 3 or 4 absolute star performers, not least Harry Smith, the Wigan halfback, who was man of the match, Corey Johnson, Leeds hooker, absolutely superb, but everybody played their part. The Aussies came back, a bit like in the Test series against New Zealand. England held on. That resilience that we haven't seen too often at top class level. The kids, the young men were absolutely fantastic. Second test is at Headingley on Friday, 7:30.
Yeah.
I would advise, whilst the Our League app is something you should download and watch, if you can get to the game, go and watch it, because the Aussies then fought back to make it 14-8. They had an opportunity to score in the last minute that possibly would have brought them a draw, which they didn't deserve. But the main thing that stood out was, historically, the Aussie schoolboys have looked bigger and more physical and more intimidating than our lads have. Every single one of the England guys looked the part, stood up, were throwing people into touch, were not intimidated by big forward rushes from guys who were of similar size. It was just great to see and really encouraging. 3 or 4 of those names will be playing in Super League in the very near future.
Mal Meninga will be getting word legend. We're beating them, the what faces at adult level. So in the academy, we're getting them tucked up.
And rightly so, and so I reckon the Australian coach who's over here at the moment will send in some cheese, eh? Send in some cheese, because hopefully the lads are going to do the business on Friday night. It's going to be a 2-0 victory. But my question is with this thing, Phil, because when I last saw the academy, it was in Lee and the Smassios and the Burgess twins were absolutely sensational. And I asked the question then, and I'll ask the question again now. These lads who were playing in the academy at 18, 19 years of age, and I know what you'll say, Sco, it might be a little bit too early from now, week in and week out. But
some of them are nearly ready.
Right, but the question is, right, how long is it going to be before they're going to be playing week in and week out and become household names in Super League?
I think part of that will depend on injuries, because clearly they won't be within the
I'm not talking about injuries, I'm talking about ability.
No, I think a lot of them will get their chance. I mean, one of the guys who stood out was Harry Newman, who already is in the squad for Leeds. Spent all last year at Feathers. He's ready to play a fair bit of Super League this year. He physically stood up to his opposite number, Bradman Best, who everybody was saying was one of the stars of the Australian. All of the Aussies have signed for NRL teams, and most of them on the day were overshadowed by their English counterpart. Ethan Havard is a proper Wigan. He is going to be in contention for their squad this year.
So there should be. So there should be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Forget about all the journeymen. Forget about, we talk about pathways. Forget about the old journeymen. Get the class in.
Very top.
Get the class in.
We are clearly producing kids. I must stop calling them kids.
The class
Young men.
Class of 2018, get them in. Yeah. Get them in.
Well,
instead of journeymen.
2014, the Australian schoolboys brought over a kid called Latrell Mitchell. I think he just won a grand final for them, 4 years later. So who's to say some of our lads will not be playing at Old Trafford?
Well, I would have said you knew it, and also to the halfback Leeds have signed, the halfback who got the man of the match at Wigan. I want to see them next year, or the year, or the next year. Winning a grand final, winning the Harry Sunderland Trophy, or winning the Leinster Trophy. I want to see the British talent coming through, giving them opportunities because they're good enough.
I think a fair core of that England team is 17, so they can still stay in the academy system develop even further. But it was exciting because of the way that they played. They were really good.
Great result.
If you can get to Headingley on Friday, for the last game of 2018,
Yes.
have your 12 days off before it all starts again.
We're in the last game of 2018, is it technically? Because Boxing Day would be the last game.
Or is that the start of the new season?
It's all 2018, Phil. Just
Anyway.
saying. Yes.
So
what time
there's
does it kick off? 8?
7:30.
7:30.
And there's the draw for the Challenge Cup first round.
Ah, yeah, the
Well,
Challenge
yeah,
It's
Cup.
at
Hang
5:30.
The Challenge Cup.
And
Hold on. This is breaking news now.
Not getting the notes out, sod that. Where's that much? 10, 20, 80, 81. Got £4.81. Could be the RSW Challenge Cup.
Put it on the table.
£4.81.
That is an official offer.
There you go, Ralph.
481.
Brian, if you're watching.
can't turn it down. It's better than what
Got an
we've already
official
got.
bidding now. I have to do the draw though for every
But,
round
you know,
on this programme.
Well, is that to be the main sponsor, it's all
Yeah.
participant?
No, that's to be the main
That's
sponsor.
my sponsor.
That's to be
well, the
main
good news is
sponsor.
Red Star Belgrade in, and then forget everything else because we forgot.
I mean, I did speak to the people behind the Pyongyang pylons bid, and they've not heard anything from the RFL.
Not invited.
No.
Not even asked to pay a bond.
No.
No.
I mean, there is discussion about whether they're actually on the name at the moment, which is a bone of contention, but still, they haven't been invited. So we're with Toronto. They're with Toronto, and Toulouse on the sidelines, sticking their fingers up at the man.
What do we make out of what's happened last week? My sources suggest they were asked to pay nearly £1 million to end if they got to the final. Only if they got to the final. I said, why don't they get rid of Brian Barwick and put 20 grand of his wages on Toronto to get to the final, and that would have paid the bond, and the RFL would have been 60 grand better off anyway, because they'd saved 80 grand getting rid of Brian Barwick.
Super League clubs meeting and RFL Council this week, so Mr. Barwick could be gone by the end of it.
Again, my understanding, Super League don't want him, but the RFL ain't got rid of him. I don't know if there's anything in that or not. Scully, the Challenge Cup should be open to all, shouldn't it? If you're good enough to play in our competition, you're good enough to play at Wembley.
I agree, and I said in the column as well, and I say certainly what happened last year with the Catalans from there, and you know the Challenge Cup is open to everybody to participate, and I say asking the bond for, as we know what great way what Toronto are doing, and certainly what the Catalans have done there, and the Catalans taking, to me, it's still the biggest cup competition in the world of rugby league. They're taking the Catalan Dragons with the Challenge Cup to Barcelona with the grand final winners as well in Wigan from there, just realistically telling people, hey listen, this is the greatest game of all this, come and watch what this can produce, but also as well, come and be part of history. That's what the Challenge Cup is. And for the RFL to try and cover their own backsides with what happened last year, because at the end of the day, anybody could qualify to get to the final. I know it's a lot harder now with the full-time festival, and I know it'd be a ridiculous statement to say, I'll tell you what's to say Dewsbury and Sheffield can't get there. We know that's not going to happen, but if it did, what would the RFL do then? You know, it's all again about preparation, pre-planning, marketing. But to do this to two clubs and asking for a bond, and also as well, Catalans, they've had to pay a bond again just in case they get to the final. Boy, oh boy, do you know what? This is an embarrassment to the game, and it's an embarrassment to the biggest cup competition in World Rugby League. And I feel sorry for Toronto, and I feel sorry for Toulouse.
And maybe I shouldn't ask this question, but what do you get as a club in terms of prize money for winning the Challenge Cup?
I think the point here is even more simple than all of that. It just tells us how little money there is in the governing body.
Well, can I just jump in there? I mean, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but let's be fair. Since the Super League have taken over, it's my understanding that access to a certain amount of money that the RFL had is no longer there, and all of a sudden the RFL have realised that they can't skim over issues that have been a problem in the past, like paying the legal costs at Bradford, which we understand they had a payment in that, like the payments to Nigel Wood, like the payments to
Also as well,
the other guy.
also as well,
is that notable? I can't remember his name.
Also as well, buying Bradford Bulls ground at £750,000.
Well, this is what I mean. All this money now, they don't have access to any spare money. They can only spend what they earn, and they're not earning any money.
But more than that, the sponsor that they thought they had for the Challenge Cup fell through at the last minute, which is why, again, I believe the need from their point of view to ask for financial guarantees from certain clubs has come about. But where does this begin and end? You know, there's two easy targets. when you say they're not members of the competition. So Toronto and Toulouse have special conditions, and we've just decided that this year their special conditions are going to be based on finance because we haven't got any money. But the logic of that then says it's every club who is going to enter the Challenge Cup, which immediately kills the essence of cup competition, going to be rated on the number of spectators that they could possibly bring to the final. So there's going to be a sliding scale of fees to join now. So, you know, Salford will have to pay a certain amount, Huddersfield will have to pay a certain amount, but Leeds and Wigan wouldn't because they're likely to bring...
Lots of fans,
and then you say, right, well, okay, well, where's the honesty in that? Because the last final we had between Hull and Wigan, who you would say would be two of the clubs who would be exempt from ticket sale, didn't draw 70,000 people. So what is the break-even figure for the game to decide they're going to charge?
What is the problem? Why are the crowds going down? Is that anything to... is that because the game's not being marketed?
You're not addressing the issue of the falling popularity of the Challenge Cup. What you're doing is saying, we need clubs to bail us out. It's nonsense.
What next? What next? Hot balls, nonsense. Cold balls in the draw? Is that what's going next?
You know, Red Star Belgrade are bought in on the understanding that they will play their first 2 rounds away. But at the same time as we're making a public deal of isn't it great that we're bringing the first Eastern European team, or Russian teams have been in before, but the first team from Serbia are coming in. But we're not saying that, by the way, we've decided to not allow Toronto and Toulouse in on the basis of the fact that they might actually win it. And that's what we're worried about.
A couple of points from Nicholas, and it kind of extends onto that. Toronto, as we've known, has been shown in the past when they have gone away to clubs in League One, have got a bigger crowd watching them. So one would assume if actually Toronto got to the Challenge Cup final, I don't think they sell more tickets or not, but they might have got more eyes on the final on television, which apparently the numbers for that are declining, which we'll speak of later. But also, as Nicholas says, and kind of in the same way that you said, stick some money on them to win, which you can't, well, I guess you can do, but you can always take out insurance. And it won't cost that much because it won't be that big a premium.
But I think that tells you where we are with the governing body and its finances at the moment, that they're not even prepared to invest in insurance, never mind in marketing the actual tournament. I think you'll be able to read the full explanation from Toronto's point of view in the new issue of Forty20 magazine out towards the end of this week. Brian Noble has quite clearly outlined not just the fact that it was one fee too many that they were asked to pay, bearing in mind what they are paying to take their place in the competition, but there is genuine disappointment for the players who clearly wanted to play in the Challenge Cup. For the sport, again, their game against Warrington, where they were shown where they were in the pecking order, got big viewing figures, both from the BBC, but importantly in Australia. People in Australia want to watch this Toronto Wolfpack emerge.
And worth bearing in mind, when Toronto concentrated on the rugby in that game, they were in front. When they started doing the dirty stuff, they threw it away.
But they are a marketable commodity on a global basis. And the domestic game is saying...
We've seen it, Phil. Look, we've seen it. We work, you know, we all contribute on Talk Sport. Whenever we rung up, when something happens in London, you know, Ross Eppenstall does the piece on London, it gets picked up by the guys reading the paper down in London, they ring me up, right, we want to have a chat about London.
Absolutely.
They're always asking about Toronto, I've no doubt they'll ask about Red Star Belgrade when they come in, and yet, like you said, we're kicking out the people that we want to be in, and the essence of the cup is that anyone who's in the hat can win it. I know that might seem unfeasible, but is that not the dream of the cup? And as you say, you know, I just wonder... I think the RFL now are in deep doo-doo because they have now not got access to this money, right? Richard,
sorry, just putting Phil's mic up.
They've not got access to this money, and that is an issue for them that they now are panicking. You know, this is another huge own goal. However you look at it, this is a massive own goal.
Absolutely.
You know, they're in effect saying, we can't sell out the final, so we don't want any teams in it that aren't going to bring any fans. Well, as you said, Salford and Huddersfield might get there. You know, it might be... And you saw I was saying, Championship clubs might not get there. If all the big boys get drawn together, it could happen. It could, you know, we've seen in the FA Cup. Millwall got to the FA Cup final, the Championship team. It does happen.
What did we see in the 8s last year? We saw that there were top-level Championship teams that could beat... So, you know, you only needed a semi-final between... Leeds and Toronto and a repeat of Toronto's last-minute drop goal at Headingley, and they're at But that is the absolute joy and essence of cup football.
Yeah, and Brian has said last time Huddersfield were at Wembley, they drew the same number of supposedly bigger clubs. Look, we mentioned Huddersfield. We're picking up as a side that is not well supported at the moment.
Well, whose average gate on a weekly basis at home is not dissimilar to Toronto's.
Yeah.
But they're not being asked to put up a bond, whereas Toronto are. It's not having a go at Huddersfield, we're just making comparisons. The League Express yearbook is now out, a very good Christmas present. If anybody is thinking of buying books this year, there's a lot of good stuff out. Rounded up in the Forty20 magazine books Christmas.
You can be a bit more outspoken about your shop, you know.
There's no product placement on
we're not bothered.
But in the yearbook, I think there's something really, really telling. Apart from all the great stats that is your journal of record and the 5 personalities that they pick for the year. The World Cup is dealt with in depth. There's a bit at the back which is absolutely fascinating. It gives you the attendance figures, and I think they tell you where this sport is at the moment. That attendances overall across all 3 divisions are down. But who do you think was the best supported team in Super League last year?
Is this one of those trick questions, isn't it?
Leeds.
No, it was Leeds.
No, it's Leeds.
Yeah. It was Leeds who A, were incredibly poor on the field, and B, had a stadium that was half out of use. So Leeds' average support was down by over 2,000, and yet they were still the best supported team. Wigan, who won the competition, were also down by about 2,000.
Can I ask a question about Leeds, right? And this is an interesting one. But by reducing availability, you increase demand. So how many people at Leeds thought, I better buy a season ticket, otherwise when Wigan come I might not get a ticket?
But they shouldn't have been the best supported team.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I agree with that. But I also think that figure can be... It's like saying the crowd was down, I get that. But I think
the point is that there is no way a team who finished 1 game off being in the £1 million game and disappointed in a lot of areas should have been the best supported team.
Newcastle get 50,000 every week, Phil. They haven't won up for 50 years, or 60 years.
The trend is significantly down. And I think that is the biggest worry we've got, and we're making that worse by excluding clubs from the Challenge Cup.
Can I ask a question about Toronto and their feasibility to be in the Challenge Cup? When they were admitted into the league, I'm sure someone did a feasibility study and went over to Toronto, no doubt at the RFL expense.
Like they've done with New York, you mean?
Well, I'm going to ask about that because I think Ricky Wilby's watching, so we'll ask that in a minute. So, was this mentioned when they were saying, hang on, what happens if this mob actually get to Wembley? What happens if they get to Super League and they get to Old Trafford? What's going to happen? Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll put a bond. Did they ask for this bond up front? Ricky Wilby's listening, he's involved in the New York City bit. If the RFL kit, right Ricky, you can come in the old Challenge Cup, son, but it's £1 million up front or you're not getting in. You know what the answer's going to be. So why is this come until now? And this is what makes me think the RFL are starting to panic big time. Because this, in any normal business, right, this gets brought up. If you're, as a businessman, think, I'm going to buy another shop, so I'll go have a look at a shop. You don't just walk in, pay all the money and then go, oh, I better get a survey done of the building.
Better check what area.
My building that we just bought's fallen down. Oh, if only I'd have known, I'll have to make my books all 80 grand each. It don't work, does it? You do. It's just.
And it's not as if Toronto at any stage didn't reveal their ambition to be in Super League as quickly as they possibly.
They are not coming in making up the numbers.
No, they've over-invested to try and get to the top of the game.
Exactly.
And every single step that they've faced, there has been an obstacle put in the way because not enough due diligence was done about the impact economically it may have. And if I was them and I managed to bring a big television deal to the table, I wouldn't be sharing it with anybody else, that's for sure.
I tell you what as well, when you ask players and all regarding what cup finals they want to play, because let's not forget here now, in the competition, it's not like back in my day where there were 5 or 6 competitions and trophies where you could win. Well, there's only really 2 major ones. Forget about the Hood Cap. We all know with the league leadership doesn't mean nothing, to be honest with you, from there. So if you're not going to get to a grand final, the only opportunity you are going to get to the final, because it is a cup competition, and you don't know who you're going to get drawn against, and as you say, by luck, you could get there by a bit of luck. But Toronto, certainly from a point of view for their future, and want to be in Super League and be consistent week in and week out. But you ask all the players who play for Toronto, even now, and I'm sure, Brian Noble said it, the players wanted to be part of the Challenge Cup because, realistically, coming to the end of their career, some of their players, there's only one final where they can really get into, and that's the Challenge Cup. So why take it away from these players and the coaches and the directors and the people who have got this journey and this vision for the Toronto. It's absolutely
I
scandalous.
mean, when John Wilkins signed for the Wolfpack, he was a very good signing, and one of those players that could get them to a
Correct.
Challenge Cup final.
Absolutely.
He's got the
Yeah.
experience
Of course he could.
to know how to. When he signed for them, I don't think they will have said to him, "Sign for us, but you won't be able to play in the Challenge Cup." What's one of the reasons I've signed for you is I want to be in that underdog camp where we can over. Brian McDermott will be seething
Of course he will.
that his team can't lead his team out at Wembley. They may not have got there, but to not be allowed to get to the starting line.
Do you know what as well?
It's just ridiculous.
This bond, what the RFL asked for, was it just was it a straight? This is the figure. If you're not paying
Yeah, yeah.
it, you're not in.
Yeah,
There was no negotiation. and what have you.
it was a certain number of tickets that they had to guarantee. For every ticket that was sold, that would have come out of the bond.
As I said though.
But they were guaranteed a certain amount of money from that club making the final.
But
They
was
lost a lot
that
with Catalan last
tickets bought from the RFL now, or tickets bought on group on the week before?
Yeah.
If that had been it, they'd only had to
Exactly.
pay 20 grand, wouldn't they? They still filled it out.
Exactly.
Nicholas says that some Wolfpack players, according to sources, have Challenge Cup bonuses in their contract. So they've
They will have. They will have.
Yeah.
They will have.
Not fair.
No.
The other thing that again is only he can answer, but what impact does this have on somebody like David Argyle, who is the kind of investor that everybody's been saying has more than done everything that's asked of him. He seems to have spent money on players and kit and marketing above the level he needed to. At what point does he say, "I'm just dealing with people I can't work with"?
And he's not an embarrassment on social media like other owners we've been told we need in the sport.
I'll tell you what as well, if the Toronto fans and all, if they saw the Challenge Cup final last year and saw what the Catalans did and saw what an occasion that could be, they would be saying to themselves, I'll tell you what, if we ever get to the Challenge Cup final at Wembley, we're going. We're going because we want to experience that experience of, as I keep saying, the biggest cup competition in World Rugby League, even to this day, and it is. You ask any player or coach or even any director and chairman what they want to do, that is to lead out at Wembley at the National Stadium.
I think there are still issues between Super League and the RFL.
Massive issues.
So on the background of, as you quite rightly said, Catalan winning the cup and setting up this huge game in Barcelona, which should break the attendance record for Super League.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
But it's now a Super League event, it's not an RFL event.
It's
Because the RFL event's going on in Blackpool with
Exactly.
So the Magic Weekend is on that weekend.
No, the Summer
No,
Bash.
it's Black
Magic.
Sorry.
Magic's the week
So,
after.
well, it's ridiculous again, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Well, I said that full, as you mentioned right at the very beginning of the show, full credit to the French Federation, who 6 months in advance are
Correct.
rearranging their fixtures
Absolutely.
so that any French fan that wants to go to Barcelona has the chance to experience something that's going to be really special.
Correct.
And what are we doing? We're playing a full round of
It's the
Super
same
League and Championship
again.
games.
It was the same this year with the double header in the Challenge Cup. And say I was a big company with keeping from there, and all the companies, as I said, if they don't support their own team, so have a Warrington St Helens Leagues or whatever, and the three teams were playing there. Could they go? No, they couldn't because everybody were playing on the same day. Ridiculous.
I mean, it's a shame that it's close to the Magic Weekend in terms of people might make the decision to go to Barcelona rather than Anfield, but you can understand that the new Camp Stadium isn't available all the time. We have
They
to
have
take
only
what we
had
can.
one once.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things. But the Summer Bash being.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what. Who's to say? I'm here with prediction again here. I might be going early. Who's to say it won't happen the year after? Because I'll tell you what, with the quality what the Catalans have got, who's to say they can't return the Challenge Cup? Who's to say it won't happen again?
What would have happened, again, hypothetical, Catalan, we believe, have been asked for some kind of financial security as Toronto and Toulouse were. We don't know if it's the same. But what happened if Catalan had turned around and said, we're not paying it? And we are not defending your cup competition.
Well, have they been asked to pay what Toronto?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We think they've been asked to pay something, but we don't know if it's the same amount. But if they've been asked to pay anything, what if they'd have turned around on principle and said, no, we're not going to?
Why have the Catalans been asked to pay a bond?
They're the holders.
They're the holders for
That
God's
was
sake.
foreigners.
Eh?
You know that we're in the middle or about to start. The World Darts Championships are about to start. There's a new book out about them.
Do you win this week?
And a few years ago, Stephen Bunting, used to look a bit like him, but I don't anymore. Got a beard. He won the BDO World Title and the £100,000 that went with it. And he couldn't make the decision to not defend his title until the money cleared into his bank because they would have taken it off him. But that's what we're saying. how did it? You can't go to the World Championship and then say, oh well, Bob Cross isn't here this year because we didn't want to invite him. So he's all right, but Catalan's not here this year. Well, the viewing figures are falling for the Challenge Cup on the BBC. We're told by the BBC. So when they come on, and
but is the BBC telling us that to try and force the price down for when they actually have to part with any money? Or do they even pay for it? That is one of the great unanswered questions in rugby league. What do they pay for the access that they get to our sport?
Have we got a sponsor here for the biggest competition?
No, we don't.
No,
We don't have a sponsor. It's Richard.
Yeah.
It's what is the offer?
£4.81.
£4.81.
We'll make it around £5 between us.
All
Hey
right.
Rich, can you make it £2.50? I want a cake sandwich on there. I'll make it £2.50, mate.
All right. Not a problem. Not a problem. We are, look, I mean, this is, we're at laughable stakes now. We're at laughable stakes. We keep mentioning the betting companies. The betting companies, I understand, have signed agreements whereby, is it next year or the year after? They're not going to be able to advertise during the football games, the in-play betting. They are going to be looking for an outlet. The bookmakers need an outlet to get people to use their products.
And let's face it, the relationship with Betfred has been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been great for them, and who are, they're the 4th or 5th biggest bookmakers. I think it's elevated their profile, but also it's been really, really good for the sport. They're great partners.
Yeah.
They've financed a lot of relationships between media and themselves to get the best profile that they possibly can.
But it's funny when you get a proper business
I know, yeah.
that know what they're doing and know how to nurture relationships and how to get the most out of the money that they're spending.
What
They
must
must
they
laugh.
think? Who
They
must
must
they
laugh.
think they are dealing with?
They'll laugh.
And we're moving the Challenge Cup in 2020, but it's going to be in a parlous state when we do. So we're undermining ourselves when we're going to revamp it the year after next anyway.
People don't like it when we talk about darts, so I won't mention darts. However, but the Hearns,
Gerwin Price played rugby
he
league.
did play rugby league. The Hearns, who, talking of working with sponsors well, having worked currently with a sponsor, but doing some work with the Hearns in the past, they couldn't be more helpful to you in terms of what you need as a sponsor in terms of your media output than the Hearns, because they know they're selling a product. They're the world's greatest TV producers of sport. The Mosconi Cup on TV last week, 9-ball pool, which no one watches the rest of the year, 10-pin bowling, ping pong, all this stuff they get on TV because they've got a track record of proving to TV companies, Sky the obvious one to go with here, and I'm sure they do a deal where they say, well, if you take the darts and you take this, so you take this boxing match, then you have to show the ping pong as well, but they're happy to take it because they know it's a professional product and it comes across well. And we've got...
Well, is that not where we went wrong? We mentioned this last week with the Sky. If the RFL had any guts, as it was at the time, they would have said, if you're having that, you're taking the championship, but they never did.
But even the matchroom as well, watching it week before last, they've even took professional boxing to Italy. I don't know if you saw that fella as well. Yeah, and Eddie Earl on there, and he in Italy, because boxing by all accounts not that big in Italy, but they've even chanted their arm over there now. But the place was absolutely packed, and I was watching the snooker over the weekend, and Barry Owen was on there, because of the situation we were rolling on about, we played too much snooker, and we were a little bit tired as older guys, so we wanted to break away. Well, Barry Earns, well, if you want to break away, go on then. I've got plenty of people to return it from there. But it's like, if the Hearns took charge, quite clearly, they won't be allowed to take charge because they'll want to take charge, and the RFL won't like it.
They don't want to take charge though. They want to...
No, I'm on about that product, the challenge. I'm not about the whole game. I'm
Yeah.
on about what they would want for the Challenge Cup, but they won't be allowed to get on with it.
But what have we said from the outset about the Hearns? Whether they're involved or not involved, they'll only be in it if there's money in it.
Correct.
And if you say to them, well, if you make X, we want Y, and you can keep Z, and then they go, deal.
But
First thing we do, new TV deal, we're on ITV, there's $1 million, there's half for you, there's half for me. And they're winning.
what they want more than anything, which they've proved with all the boxing that they do, which even the Ronnie O'Sullivan thing, they quite like managing that because it keeps snooker front
Are
and
they
centre.
bothered? Are they bothered?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised, right?
So-
I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Hearn doesn't say to Ronnie, send him a text saying, here, Ronnie, just have a moan about this.
The day before the final,
Yeah.
if you could have a go at
Kick
us.
off about it.
But
yeah.
so what would, if they were taking over rugby league, what would they want at the moment? Apart from they keep going on about personalities, which everybody says there are personalities out there, but we don't know how to promote them. There were 17 young kids that are promotable in the England Academy team. But what they want is a team maybe called Toronto, that is a whole new market for them where they can go and exploit America. So we want the Hearns to take on the Challenge Cup, but we're not going to give them an asset that they would want to promote the Challenge Cup.
I'm not
Makes
saying
no sense.
they will cure every ill in rugby.
No,
league.
no,
but they are better than the option of doing absolutely jack, which we're doing at the moment. What is our
But
marketing
it's
budget?
not that we're doing
And where's
jack.
it being spent?
We're actually doing negative jack at the moment. By not having Toronto, we are denying ourselves one of the big sporting stories. The impact that Catalan had, not just to take this game to Barcelona, but the whole of French Rugby League got a massive boost from it being in the paper. You know, when Catalan reported in L'Équipe, that reflects well on French Rugby League. When the French national team plays, and you can write, you know, their under-18s have won their championship, their senior team have won the European Championship, Catalan Dragons won the Challenge. It all helps build something in a market where this is exactly what we need to be doing. So we're now denying ourselves the market that the Herns need to promote.
What did we say last week? You look at some of the fights that Eddie Hearn puts on, right? And he must go home and think, I can't believe I get away with this. He must go. He's selling fights that are rubbish, but people still turn up.
yeah, packed.
And we can't get to the marquee. We have got Fury Wilder, we've got Joshua Fury,
Absolutely.
you know, Leeds Warren, Wigan Warren, St Helens, whoever.
Yeah.
And we, it's one of the play each other 8 times anyway, what's the point? And we don't build it up. No. You know, we don't build it up and we don't do it. And it's going to be interesting. There's a saying, isn't it? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Right now,
we're not
we are
even
getting
doing what we've always done.
Well, we're getting naff all, and that's the point.
I can't wait. If we've got no money at the RFL, I can't wait for next year's advertising campaign, which is going to be Ralph and Brian Barwick outside the Red Hall front door saying, "Come watch Rugby League, lads."
No, but it'll only be come and watch the Championship and League One, because there will be some glitzy advert for Super League, because that's what they're putting their money into. Now we're not even having match commissioners.
Yeah, so
another
in the
cost
Premier
saving.
League Express today. I mean, it's funny. You go, I go to football a lot, and you see that there's almost as many officials now as there are players. But at the same time,
they have a role.
You know, a couple of your old mates, like Colin Morris, is still involved in the match
Colin Morris,
commission.
John Allsworth,
but they
Jerry
will have
Kershaw,
experience that they can pass on, surely, to these younger lads. And we've got a lot of young, exciting talent in the refereeing rank. And yet these older guys, we're getting rid of them.
But it's not just a refereeing thing, the match commission as well. If there is an issue at a game,
like it snows,
or heaven forbid somebody gets seriously injured, that all falls under the role of the match commissioner. If there's a dispute even on playing colours, there has to be somebody there who represents the governing body, who is an arbiter in all of these things. Who's the go-to person. You know, when international games are played, the federations will send and appoint a match commissioner. Somebody who is respected by all parties to make a difficult decision if they need to. You know, if a doctor is late in getting to the game, it's the match commissioner that decides if the kick-off time can be later, and at what point you know, all of those things that we take for granted are absolutely vital.
I tell you what as well, at the same time, I just want to read a paragraph here, because you know, it's come from one veteran whistleblower, so I would imagine there'd be either John Allsworth or Colin Morris or Dave Campbell or Jerry Kershaw.
There's only 7 of you.
Well, listen. And he asked not to anonymous, but I would imagine it might be 4 of them anyway. And referees, and acted as a match committee for many years. And he's told the League Express, you know, this is how it was done. I was sending an email asking me to put forward the reasons for why I should stay and asking me to reapply for my job. Pathetic. I was then informed also by an email, rather than come face to face or by a letter, that my services were no longer required. This is the most important part for me though. I'm not the only one. I can figure 3 or 4 of us, and there may be well more, who combined length of services spans more than 100 years.
Yeah.
Can Rugby League in this country seriously afford to brush aside such experience? Pathetic.
Whoa.
Pathetic.
You've just killed the official. That is the match commissioner.
No, if there was a match commissioner, you'd been reported.
Oh, was it Stuart Cummins? Yeah, get him off. Stuart Cummins, get him off.
He's off to work on Sky TV now, so he's off there, he's gone.
But losing all that experience, and as we mentioned there, the young referees who are coming up, and I say that you can't buy experience, and it's again pathetic. As you mentioned there, Brian Barwick on 80 grand a year, cost cutting again, and in an
what are you saving? 100 quid a game.
But you know what? This is very much an important part of the game. Brian Barwick,
Sorry, Brian.
You haven't got to be positive, Brian Barwick.
Just said. Sorry, Brian Barwick. Well, let's go and take him outside.
Not an important part of the game.
Are you an agent?
But he is an important part of the game.
Is he?
Is he?
He's the leader, isn't he? He's the
head
whole
of-
of this coming through His leadership?
Leadership.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Yeah. You banged your head today.
I can't wait for Theresa May to be
Head
announced.
test. We need a match commission to make sure. Oh, we ain't got one. We ain't got one.
Is
No, it's gone.
Theresa
You have to
May
carry on.
in running to be the next RFL president, I understand. when you know, give her a job in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Who's under the most pressure? Theresa May or Ralph Rimmer?
Well,
There's a Twitter
in
poll
fairness,
for you.
they don't know who he is though, so it's all right. Yeah, the MPs have been talking with Billy last week. They're all happy, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Can't do their own bloody jobs.
What's happening on social media? Is anything happening on social? Well, no, it's because I can see it all coming through.
Let's have more negative stuff, says Kev. But please don't mention the other code. We were watching the other code yesterday. It was quite entertaining, wasn't it? It was worrying.
You know, me and Rich watched. We were at work the other day. We watched for about 2 hours the sevens, didn't we?
Eddie
Really
Rombos,
good.
Kenya.
It's like rugby league.
On
It's
Cape
like
Town.
rugby league.
Yeah.
The sevens is like rugby league. It's great.
Even the European Cup was all right.
Yeah, it was.
It was on Channel 4. It looked like they had a programme on before, which looks a bit banter bus kind of rubbish.
I'll tell you what as well though, because I watched that Sevens last week when we were over in Dubai, and I'm looking at it and thinking, why can't we do anything like this? But then I'm thinking, no, not really. You
Well,
look
we've got World Cup nines.
Yeah. It's coming.
You look
World Cup
Well,
nines.
we think.
Yeah. You haven't even told us dates yet for internationals, have they yet? But anyway, so but
Agreed,
then
mate.
you look at all the massive sponsors they've got from, you look at all the massive sponsors what they have there. You look at the crowds from there, and I'm thinking, do you know what? This is why they do it right in the opposite court, because they tell people early enough. It's a massive event. They get the sponsors involved, and also to a more important, when you see all the kids that are around there as well and what have you, it's just sensational.
You know what the sevens is as well? It's the
But it's-
darts. It's people going to
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yes,
darts.
it's not about
the
what
day.
they're watching.
Mascot and Gav Willis went, didn't they? And they just went. It's just like a big party.
And
It's
then
like
I-
rugby on.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, let's have
watch it,
another
we'll
beer
watch
and
it.
stand on the concourse.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a get, is there? Right, okay.
If I watch it, we'll watch it, but it's sensational, isn't it?
Just going back to negative or not. This is a debate at the moment that we really need to bottom out. It's not about whether you're positive or negative. If you cannot ask questions, the kind that we have done about Toronto's exclusion, about not having match commissioners, without being deemed as negative, then we may as well all pack up and go home.
Do you know what, Phil?
It is not negative. It's these things are happening in our sport and need questioning.
Yeah.
We started off the programme by saying there are 3 or 4 things that happened this weekend that should be celebrated and lauded.
And rest assured, that'll never happen on this show again.
But we wouldn't be worth the seat that we've got here if we didn't face up to these issues.
Look,
they're happening in the sport.
And do you know what? Do you know why Richard Shawright and Mark Wilson and Phil Kaplan and the legend ask these questions? Do you know why? Because we cared about the bloody game, that's why. We cared about the game. We cared about the people who support it. We cared about the referees. We cared about the players and coaches, even though we do give honest opinions. But we cared about the greatest game of all.
We want it to
Simple as
be
that. A
the
success.
best it can
Correct. Absolutely.
The RFL are in talks about sponsoring this programme.
I
They
think
want
they're
us-
watching.
They want us to turn up with some pom-poms and just chill.
And I think they want us to pay a bond
Yes.
Can I,
so that they can revoke our licence if we say anything they don't
You
like.
mentioned that. We've been asked to apply again. We might be getting it.
We're wearing false beards and hats next year.
Remember when we did that? Remember when we did the A
We
team
change our
thing?
names.
Remember when we did the A team thing and we said we were somewhere in the league's underground? We'll be underground.
Next year I'll be
We
wearing
turn up with big beards
I'm
on.
wearing a Jerry Beadle style beard and taking it off and doing my normal beard to get into the ground.
Have you got my media pass yet?
I daren't apply.
It's getting less and less like the club.
C Cathcart CC loves the Country Bears shirt. Well, now Country Bears Facebook page. Come on, 25
Is that
quid.
Craig? Craig Cathcart.
Possibly could be 25 quid.
One of Coventry's great players in the early days.
Yeah.
Craig.
I've got number
Brilliant
19
player.
there.
Good.
It says tight fit in it, so if you are extra large, tight fit shirt because it doesn't look as good, but they are nice.
Anybody
Country
sponsored
Bears
by a
Facebook page.
trampoline park
Yeah.
is all right by me.
Yeah.
City of Culture 2021 Coventry. So
There you go.
It's the new Hull.
There you go.
But
Oh,
no,
it's a
like
new
some
hull.
of them.
Oh no, Skull. Oh. We'll talk about that after 7.
Graham's also pointed out that
Speaking of cheerleading.
the biggest disaster this week, no letters page in League Express.
What?
I mean, I was too busy last week to write them, but
Oh dear. Oh dear.
It will be next week.
Just
It will be next week. It'll be full of old fans next week.
not written one for a while.
Yeah.
Andy says, where's Barwick's Black Book? Do you sell it downstairs, is it? I've got his book. I've got his autobiography. I should bring it in for the
Did you
table
write
next
an
week.
autobiography?
The Table of Tap
I
from
bought it-
Brian Barwick.
I've got it in a pound shop.
What were it on sale? 50p.
It's like those hobnobs, yeah.
Yeah. The table of tat actually is quite resplendent this week.
Could I just say thank you to Sheffield Eagles for sending us
That's
all
not
a
tat,
Christmas card?
Did they?
Yes,
Honestly?
it's on the table of
Is
tat.
this the table of
Yeah.
tat? Is it right? Okay.
It says,
Oh, very good. Thank you.
so
Well done.
somebody can.
Sheffield, of course, which is not in Yorkshire.
No, they're not allowed in the Yorkshire Cup,
No.
Sheffield.
Despite being in the last final.
Republic of South Yorkshire.
They've broken
Um,
away, Denman Barnes.
Now, again, reporting, and I asked Carl Hall about this, he said they weren't invited. Now, Phil, without breaking any confidences, we were in the company of
Senior Rugby League
a
executive.
senior Rugby League executive who basically told us the format of the Cup and told us that Sheffield and Doncaster wouldn't be invited.
And they weren't.
And they weren't invited.
No.
Now, is that
Is
not a
there-
disgrace or not?
Is there
Well-
a correlation between the people who were sat at the table on, was it Thursday, Friday, when they did their press conference,
Right.
and the people who were sat at Odsall before the big vote? Is there a correlation between those two groups of people?
What, apart from being all
He
the
says-
same people?
He says with a wink
Ooh.
and a nod.
Why weren't they invited, Doncaster and Sheffield?
They're
So-
foreign,
Well,
foreign, South Yorkshire's
apparently,
foreign.
our sources suggest that they maybe didn't vote with the RFL in the big vote.
Oh, no.
Therefore, the black ball has been placed at Doncaster,
Surely.
at Sheffield.
Surely not.
Why?
Look,
we-
guys, look, I mean, we're like the House of Lords. Oh, no.
No, we were
Look,
awake.
we can only say it as we see it.
Yeah.
And a guy at the top table used to be told us
It's a different top ten.
that they wouldn't be getting invited, and lo and behold, they haven't been invited.
Well, again, it's like another case from Only Fools and Horses when Del Boy was trying to apply for Raquel to be with the Masons. With boys said Del Boy says, "Come on, am I a Mason?" Sorry, Del Boy. No, sorry, Del Boy. It's well, who's voting against me? Well, have you seen the bottom of a rabbit hutch? That's it. So I guess if the RFL of everybody there had been exactly the same when you went for the Super League, out you go. But it's pathetic.
I get that there should be more meaning in pre-season. If clubs have got together and come up with a mini tournament between them, great. If they're doing them as double headers, really good. If Hunslet Parkside are going to get something out of it playing professional teams, great. But just don't call it the Yorkshire Cup. Let's not pretend that this has anything to do with the history and tradition of a fine trophy that goes right back to the very origin of our sport. It was the Yorkshire Cup, even when it was all rugby union, that triggered the split. So please don't. And again, I'm not having a go at the governing body per se on everything, but they should not allow it to be called the Yorkshire Cup.
And neither should seasoned journalists and reporters use phrases like reintroduced,
No,
resurgence,
it's not. It's a new
resurrection,
competition,
revived, or
which is
whatever.
fine. Call it the West Riding Cup. It doesn't matter.
Can I ask a question? Had you have, say, not had Luke fixtures, for instance,
Ooh, there's a thought.
and said, right, okay, we're not going to have Luke fixtures. What we're going to do is we're going to have, we'll do it Lancashire and Yorkshire. You can have your own little cup. As Scully said, bring back the Yorkshire and Lancashire Cup. We said that years ago on this show.
Yeah.
He said, all right, what we'll do is we'll have, I don't know how many teams will be in it, but 4 groups of 4, say, on your side, 4 groups of 4 on your side. You get...
Would you exclude Toronto?
They're in Lancashire.
Right.
Yeah. we don't
London
talk
are in
about
Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And they're
But my
Mansfield
point
and
is, so
Coventry.
you would get, even if you just play each other once, you might get 1 home fixture, 2 away fixtures, and then next year you get 2 and you get 1. And that's introduce it as a proper competition.
Do you know what you should... thinking about this, again, because I keep hearing commentary on this tournament that everybody tells me is a valueless tournament. If you're going to introduce it for the Championship and League One sides, but play the academy teams of the Super League, like the Checkatrade Trophy.
Yeah.
So all of the kids that have played for England Academy get a chance then to play against Championship and League One players, but they wear the shirt of the club that they've signed
They
for.
represent their club.
So
yeah.
if you are, and you can do it in groups, so that means that maybe Batley and Dewsbury and York get to play a team called Leeds. It doesn't matter that it's Leeds Academy. It doesn't seem to matter that when I was driving home the other day, Ipswich were playing Arsenal under 23s. It doesn't even matter that there's nobody in the ground. A national radio station was covering that game. It was deemed to be important by the nature of the teams that were in it.
When our boys, the Bears, play your boys Leeds in the pre-season game, no one goes, oh, it's only Leeds Academy, do they? 'Cause it's
They had
Leeds.
their second highest attendance ever. In fact, at the time, it was their highest ever return.
But so should this, because I get it, and then there's a play, if you get knocked out when you're playing a play, I'm not being rude, that's not going to make any money.
No.
York playing Batley in a plate game, that is not going to make any money. But if York had cast going or whatever,
Absolutely.
and I just think maybe again we've missed the boat. Now the
And
Super
perhaps
League
you
clubs
don't
might
call
not
it
want to.
Yorkshire or Lancashire because you do want to include clubs like Coventry.
Yeah, well,
So
whatever.
you know,
Yeah.
the 1895 Cup would have been better placed in that arena.
They've got a sponsor. Why is it not named after the sponsor? Or call it the
Fred's
Trevor Foster
Clubs.
Cup? Or
Yeah.
the Robbie Hunter Paul Plate or whatever.
Yeah, no, look,
It's,
we're not,
it's
yeah.
the naming of the trophy that's the issue.
I
It's
just
not
think
the
it's-
Yorkshire Cup. And the journalists who keep peddling this myth, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
You know it's not
It-
the same thing.
It could have been a good thing, and I think once again, because, and this is again where I come back to the RFL, and again I'll ask the question: are they fit for purpose? Because this is another calamity. You mentioned Del Boy; they're running it with the attitude they used. You know, it's
Yeah, to be
disaster
honest,
to disaster.
Hey, listen, don't be disrespecting Delboy. He had some good business skills. At least he likes to market himself. Don't worry about that. Huh?
Can't wait for
if-
Ralph to turn up with a big R on his chain.
Let's
Ralph.
Change Brian Barwick's first name to Rodney.
if we could find some money, we could invent our own cup where we can invite Doncaster, Sheffield, Coventry, and whoever else, North Wales, West Wales, some other teams, and they can play for a crop. And we'll call it, I don't know, we'll call it the Regal Trophy because we like the royalty, not cigarettes because we don't like cigs, but we like royalties. So we call it the Regal Trophy. And we're not going to pretend that's the reintroduction of that, or we'll find someone called John Player and name a trophy after him. It's nonsense. It's rubbish. And again, what image? Not that anyone covered it anyway, apart from local media. But what image do we set out to the sport when we've got 6 or 7 middle-aged white blokes sat there talking about the Rugby League Cup? That really doesn't count.
Yeah,
What's
agree
the
with
point?
that. I agree with that.
What's the point?
I agree.
Apologies,
Yeah.
apologies, people.
If
You know,
you're going to do
negativity.
it, do it properly.
Yeah.
And no, it's not negativity, it's question and answer,
Do-
isn't it?
Mm.
Or question without answer.
We see the merit of it, but it's like again, it's half an idea that they haven't thought through and gone, oh, we need to have a look at
The
this.
one thing that's really important about our sport is our history and our heritage. It's what defines us, it's in our DNA. And to take something like the Yorkshire Cup, so prestigious, even the irony that the last time it was properly played for, Sheffield were the finalists.
Mm.
Didn't win, I don't think, did they?
No, Gary Jack wasn't good enough on the day.
But, you know, you're reintroducing something apparently, but you're not asking a team that was in the last final.
Would you know if
Nonsense.
you'd have brought it in as a serious competition, the Yorkshire Cup, with a big final wherever it was going to be held, would that maybe not have appealed to the year older, maybe your detached viewer that
Could
wouldn't
have.
go anymore? I'll
Have
go
the teams-
down.
have
I'll
the
go down
teams-
and watch
I
it.
think you would, without
Yeah.
doubt.
If you start League One and the Championship a month later than Super League, there is a gap there to have Super League involved, to bring in a new competition, to reinvigorate the Championship and League One season as it's about to start, with the chance to win some silverware.
Yeah.
Have the
Correct.
teams
Yeah.
in heritage kits, maybe go under
Well,
their old
Absolutely,
names.
absolutely.
You know,
Heritage
because
is
let's face
brilliant.
it, you know, teams in this competition, Bradford Bulls never played in the Yorkshire Cup because they've gone bust and reformed as a different club. York, likewise, they're not related to this competition. They don't.
So do we think it's a good idea that's been really badly executed?
Yeah, because
Is
people
that
have just
what we're
been
thinking?
given
Yeah.
carte blanche to do whatever they want.
Hmm. All right.
There should
It's
be
a group of
certain-
mates that quite rightly have come up with an idea that enhances their personal pre-seasons, which I don't have a problem with. It's the linking of the traditional Yorkshire Cup and its name to that competition.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
which-
And,
Fortes,
and they've
Fortes.
noticed it because they themselves have produced a new, different trophy. So you clearly can't have 2 Yorkshire Cups.
I'll tell you what as well, one thing that show Hunsett Parkside, them lads are really looking forward to it. I say they've taken the place of Keighley, so they're well, yeah.
Keithley, though, we
Bring back the
understand.
real Yorkshire
We understand
Cup.
Keithley might be coming back. Scotty, are you the only person that hasn't been paid by Keithley now? or-
No, there's myself and some more staff. The coaching staff haven't been paid. I've not been paid. Another staff as well, you know.
Okay.
So,
Well, the players have now been paid, haven't they?
players have been paid, whether it's all the full money, I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
not,
We'll move on.
Why-
we don't wanna-
yeah.
Why haven't the Rugby Football League just said, because the fixtures are out, why haven't they just said, right, that's it, you're not in, done.
Well, we've had this before.
Leave
haven't
a blank space
We've had
and
this
then
before.
say, here's an invite to some people to set up a club in perhaps the Keighley area, new start, whatever, and start the game.
But literally what I'm going to say about Hunsford Parkside, though, them lads, I know for sure, they're very much looking forward to be part and ripping into the professional guys. And I'll tell you, if the professional guys don't take it serious against the Parkside lads, they could get turned over because they've got some quality in that side. They're very much looking forward to taking part of this, without a doubt.
Andy mentioned this on Twitter the other day. If you had a Yorkshire Cup and a Lancashire Cup, why not have the winners of those two playing off at Wembley in the 1895 thing? Or extend it to the West versus the East or whatever.
Yeah.
Martin says Toronto should have to put in a £6 million bond to play in the Lancashire Cups. They're banned from that one. They're not paying that. Toby says the Pucker Pies, Bachelor, Mushy Peas, Yorkshire and Lancashire Cups. There you go. So why whippets and flat caps? I don't know.
So,
But yeah. Tim. Don't be saying things like that.
Tim, welcome on. Thanks for watching.
Don't be starting it, Tim. We're our own little island here.
We are.
Independent of everyone.
Yeah.
Toby says, no, it's mostly against what people played at Odsall. Well, you've got to use your assets, haven't you, Toby? Make some money back for the governing body. They might be able to, bump up the marketing budget for next year and spend it wisely.
afford a match commissioner.
Yeah.
Or two. Very good. After 7, we'll be talking about Hull. Has been yet another response. It's going on longer than Brexit, this argument, you and Adam Pearson. We'll be talking more about that after 7 o'clock here on 4020 Live. It's Mark, Rich, Phil and the legend. Anything you want to talk about, let us know on Twitter at 4020 Live. Get in touch on Facebook. Lots of you watching on YouTube, by the way. Thanks to everyone that's subscribed. If you are watching, please do subscribe and keep your podcast numbers as well growing all the time.
Ian is watching us from British Columbia in Canada. He's a Chemics fan. So the best place to be a Widnes fan.
We're thinking actually about introducing a charge for overseas
foreign
thing,
people.
just in case you bring the podcast numbers down, we need some compensation.
Speaking of Widnes, somebody asked, I can't remember who it was now, how are they going to go this year? Ian said, "How can you ask the leg end? What is his thoughts on the Widnes squad for the upcoming season?" Apparently, by the way, someone earlier on the comments, this is great television, Gary says Drinkwater signed for them this week.
Wow, because he hasn't actually signed for Hull KR yet, has he?
No,
I don't believe he hasn't put in on the contract.
Drinkwater's going to Widnes, maybe.
That's what Gary says. He knows. He's our source.
Well, I think my predictions next week for the championship is coming out, so I think I've got Widnes 6.
Also,
Another ground that won't be allowed to go to them.
well, they've got a new pitch now as well.
They play black and white and all.
It looks as green as our Suburbio pitch now.
Yeah, but they don't have a chief executive.
Sean has also asked, I know it's last week's topic, but did Schofield, that's who he refers to,
Yeah.
ever play at Runcorn Highfield?
No, I didn't. No.
Sad times.
Not even for Bramley.
No.
I think
Gone
they've
by
got
now.
it.
Yeah, the Barley Mo's gone.
That's it.
Yeah, pub shut down this week. Sad, isn't it?
Robert says get Adam Pearson on the show.
Well, I can confirm, we are going to Hull in the new year to do our live show from the bar of Mr. Pearson and Mr. Hudgell that they own. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully, Adam, maybe Radders will come. I think the true test of Scoy will be
is it a boxing?
when Radders turns up, will Scoy keep the same opinion? And the beauty is, Scoy will. He'll tell Radders to his face as he would.
We need a match commissioner for that.
We would need a match
Listen,
commissioner,
mate,
and a first aid, and a doctor, and a stretcher bearer.
Mark, listen, mate. You know yourself. You're in the presses when Everett Hull playing and you're commentating on from there. One of the show where you get from Lee Radford is simple. You get open honesty.
Yeah.
So that's. Radders will be reading these comments, and like he said last week when he did the piece with Matthew Shaw, he said, Mike Stevenson said this and said that, and Scoy's the same. He says stuff and what have you, but Lee's not daft. So
Have we overlooked at Hull, the fact that Motu Tony's left? Has that maybe left a hole in their recruitment plan? You think? Could it have done?
Well, do you know what? We said as well, I know people say, well, one player doesn't make a team, but Gareth Ellis certainly wasn't far off, was he, making that a one-man side there, and certainly Liam Watts helped replace Liam Watts.
Well, we'll come into that in a minute.
Yeah,
we'll come into that in a minute.
But certainly from Gareth Ellis' point of view, massive loss.
Yeah, okay. We'll come on to Hull in a bit, but yeah, we will be going, and Adam will be invited on. Whether he turns up is entirely up to him.
Might be working behind the bar.
Exactly.
Toby thinks it's going to be like River Plate versus Boca Juniors with us arriving in Hull.
No, I don't think so.
Don't bring your fireworks.
Why would it be? Do you know, Do you know what?
Although what I would say, who sent that in?
Toby.
What I would say, Toby, is that Phil, Rich and I'll all be going in one car and he'll be going in another, just in case.
The one he had for at least that said proudly sponsored by whichever local
That's a bit harsh as well. But listen, we're
going to live with your car. We're going to get you a sponsored car for one day.
But hey, listen,
He's here.
It's like I said last week. You know, I'm a Hull fan and I'm a Leeds fan, and it's like I said last week. If Leeds can't win the treble, I want the black and whites to win every trophy. It's as simple as that.
No one's bothered.
It's a, you know, but
That's
no
not the
one's
story.
bothered.
But at
No
the
one's
end,
bothered.
I'm
Just
not-
like at the end of the fight where they go,
I'm
oh, he's a
not-
really
no,
nice guy.
listen,
We
I'm
don't
not-
want to hear you say that.
no,
I want to
listen.
hear you say
Hey,
that.
I'm not listen, I'm only giving an open, honest opinion, and that's exactly what I do. I'm not trying to cover my own backside here. It's as simple as that.
Just
But
a
at the
word
end of
as
the day-
well to all those people that think Scully, oh, he's been really harsh on Hull. Do people realise that this is not school sports day at the end? Everyone doesn't get a medal to say, oh, you've won Super League just because you turned up.
Have a
Someone
nice
will
kit.
finish bottom, someone will finish 11th, and so on. All we're doing is offering an opinion.
Nicholas has been talking about Toronto because he's from there. Oh, yeah, the great idea for marketing this sport, by the way. He said what we should do is send people round door to door like the Jehovah's Witnesses. Have you ever tried rugby league?
Have you ever heard the Challenge Cup? Would you like to pay to win it?
Ralph knocking on your door. Have you heard of rugby league? Let me come in and tell
There's
you.
a raffle ticket. The first prize is if you win it, you enter the Challenge Cup. How much is it? 25 grand a ticket.
Nicholas has also said that Toronto's players are paid in pounds, but at a currency rate, exchange rate, determined by the league, which is changing every second at the moment.
Oh,
so
plummeting.
I don't know. Some of these players might be well under the salary cap, but then it might go up. Oh, God, what's going to happen?
Could be a disaster.
Also paid in maple syrup and poutine. They were selling that in Sheffield last week. It's very cosmopolitan in Sheffield. Graham's asked about the John Holmes statue.
Yes, this was unveiled, the plan to fund it was unveiled. What's happening with it?
All being well, the statue will go up, but now it is open for public donation.
Where's it going to be?
Just outside the entrance of the south stand, so that John himself is looking over Kirkstall, where he came from, and walked to the ground from. So it's going to be that kind of assembly meeting point that the Billy Bremner statue is at Leeds United. A lot of other clubs have, but right outside the south stand. And the first look of what it will be like was unveiled last week. The maquette of it in clay. It's going to be 8 foot high in bronze. There's a My Donate site that is now available if people want to subscribe to it. It's going to be, I think, exactly what that stadium is missing. If there's going to be one thing that Headingley has never had, it's that congregational commemorative point around somebody who means everything to the club, whatever the era is that you supported it. So, local guy, played more games than anybody else.
How good was it? Because I've never seen it, obviously. How good was it?
Well,
You go first.
As a young kid who came in, I think he made his debut at Hunslet in the fullback, didn't he?
68.
Yeah, and did he 10 goals a kick, so 10 goals and scored a try. He scored about 20 points on his debut, but when you saw
They are a fella here with a team.
When,
No, Mr. Pearson, you can't come in.
when I say with Holmes, he just made it look so easy, Mark, and it's like when you look and listen and learn a little bit. And when I saw Leeds playing in the 2 Challenge Cup finals in '77 and '78, and when you looked at what Holmes did and the time what he made for himself, and certainly when he put that drop ball over, it was the right foot on, and just the time just a nice little step and put it over with his left foot. So what John did, it was quite simple, where he would say to his own players, he had a sensational backline outside him, you know, with the players what he had. He'd just say, listen, you run into space and I'll find you, whether you're 5, 10, 15, 20 yards away. And it doesn't matter, because he tried, every opposition will tell you, they always try to knock Holmes' head off, but he gave himself so much time, and the way that he read a game wasn't the quickest of standoffs. You know, he said, if you looked at Holmes, you know, for him to go 50, 60, 70 yards, he couldn't do that. But if you ask somebody to organise, you ask somebody to, and I keep mentioning at times, coming up with this champion player to get you out of the mire, or to win your massive games, Holmes did that. And I ever played once with John, and he went up at Barrow. It was when he retired. It was Mal Reilly's last game as well, and was I in awe of him? Quite simply, yes, I was. And I watched him like I did when I first came into the whole dressing room. You know what the players did, what did Steve Norton do, and what did Trevor Skinny do, and what did Dave Toppin. So I watched them. And I wasn't shouting and bawling and all this sort of thing. I didn't go to the toilet and be sick and all this sort of thing. So I thought, I watched Comsey here. And I watched him. And I watched him. And I'm looking at the watch. And I'm looking at the watch and I'm thinking, what's he doing here? Does he know he's got to get changed? He didn't start getting changed. Just nice and quick until 20 minutes before the game. Just took his clothes off, put his kit on, sat there and quietly and just did the business. And you know what? I thought that was absolutely magnificent. I thought to myself, say, well, you haven't got a care in the world, have you? You don't need anything, will you? And now, when I listen to all the ex-players who speak about him, and I'm sure Phil will give better tribute than me, to be honest with you, and fully deserve this statue. It's quite simple. Simply the best, and the time, what he made himself on the field, not just for himself, but the players around him, the havoc he caused in defences. I'll tell you what, mate, he was an absolute pleasure to watch.
Could play in any position. Started as a full-back, played in the centre, moved to stand-off in 18 when he was bringing kids through at the end of his career, which again was a testament to him. He could have retired right at the very top, and Norman Smith, who meant a lot to him, said, look, we've got a good group of kids coming. I don't suppose I could persuade you to come and play towards the end of your career and just bring it. Yeah, of course. All he wanted to do was play. It was incredibly tough. The youngest of 3 brothers, and was shown no mercy when they were all growing up together. So he knew how to take a physical presence, which served him well in his later years. Won a World Cup, 1972. People forget that. Actually played in 2 World Cups and won one of them.
What about the Ashes in 70?
No, he was too. He'd only just broken into Leeds.
Oh, right.
But played 625 games for Leeds, which is the most of any player, but 82 more than the nearest player. So just tells you everything about his durability. One of the most skillful players you will ever see. If you get the chance to see the highlights of the 1973 John Player final, which I don't know if they're out there or not. Again, it needed a miracle ball to win the game, and we talked at the very beginning of the show about American football now doing what we're doing. In that game, he saw that John Atkinson was free on the wing with nobody around him, but John Holmes was 35 yards away, just picked up the ball one-handed and lobbed it straight into him, and Atkinson scored the winning try. That's what he could do. He was very tough as well. Very tough.
We did well not to laugh at Chris's.
Yeah, Chris, we've seen your message. It's great.
We were trying to be
sadly, it
respectful
says more about you than it does about us. So
we're
well done,
respectful
Chris.
there.
What's he said?
No, it was a joke. Sorry, no, nothing bad, nothing bad. But nothing we can read out.
We don't get bad messages sent, do we? Bad,
No.
V. Barwick, love you kisses.
Yeah.
Alan says you remember him dropping a brilliant left foot drop goal versus St Helens in the 1978 final at Wembley.
You'll be pleased to know that one of the ways of raising money for the statue is that there has been a painting of that drop goal, which will be auctioned off in itself, but there'll be a limited number of prints, we think 625 to commemorate the number of appearances, and you'll be able to buy a print of that painting of his left foot.
Was it that game against Saints, or was it Widnes when he came across the field and dropped legs down off his side?
Well, that was Widnes.
Was that the Widnes?
Yeah.
Again, the creativity from there just literally sucked the
Watch
defence
those 2
in.
cup finals, 77 and 78, and the different ways in which John Holmes creates tries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some for his outside backs, with Atkinson one, there's a kick which bounces up perfectly. Dill's a drop off, Cookson's a drop off, and then his left-footed drop goal.
It was a pleasure to watch. It was a pleasure to be around.
And the book that was written about him was called Reluctant Hero, and that's exactly what he was. Didn't want any fuss. He would hate the fact that there's a statue going up about it.
Okay, well, it's going up. That's the main thing. People asking, is Scorer going to get a statue built in Hull?
More
I don't know. We've
more a
got,
guy, I think.
in the village where I live, we've got some stocks. You can go in there if you want. I'd say, well, that raises a few quid, wouldn't it?
Would it be knocked down like that one of St Anna I was still waiting for them to do that to Kieran Cunningham.
It's a bit harsh, boys. It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, right, Hull. Scorer versus Hull.
Hey, listen,
this is like Rocky 6 now.
Listen, I did play for Hull for 4.5 years, by the way, and I did play 122 times, and I did score 107 tries. So I didn't do a bad job for him.
Judas.
Wasn't my fault the director got the money pinched out of his car. It wasn't my fault.
Well, you say that. Have you got an alibi? We have a question.
Yeah, hang on.
Well, I'll have to still enjoying it.
There you go, and admit slave on there. He is a Judas.
I didn't take the £6,000 off on the game taking one night.
I tell you, Steve was very, very harsh on YouTube. The Gary Schofield statue can double up as a John Prescott one.
Hey!
Oh, come on.
Bit harsh. Come on. I'll know the funnies.
John Prescott.
Do the whole Daily Mail pay you every week? Because at least you're giving them content.
Right, anyway, we're moving on now because Scully has come up with his 10-point response to Adam Pearson. And I have to say, right, I agree with every point you've made. And I think
It's a bit worrying.
we did discuss this live on the show last week, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to look at the answers. You've made the point that they've signed no top players and have chosen to retain players they should have cut. Explain.
Well, I think I explained it last week, but also, I just want to talk about the cheerleader here. And this cheerleader.
Well, that's what I want, because I want you to explain your comments, and then Paul Clark, who writes for the Old Daily Mail, has come back with his answers.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read out here. Then I'm going to tell him what my answer. If he hasn't read, well, he's read it there anyway. So this is the cheerleader. You know, like Brian Carney said in his podcast a few weeks ago. Too many cheerleaders. Well, Paul Clark from the whole Daily Mail obviously is there. Right,
he's a very nice young man. He's
very much a cheer. I couldn't care less as we know. I'm a nice bloke as well, by all accounts. So the first was.
Hold on,
it's
that?
okay for Hull haven't signed anyone decent because Cass haven't as well. Well, as I've been told as well. Cass finished 19 points ahead of Hull last season. So there you go, cheerleader, Mr. Clark. So anyway, so he has a bit of a pop.
Did we though not say last week that we thought Cass, because of their recruitment, may well struggle?
May not make the top five. Absolutely. So, and the way that this Casper squad is Hull better than that. So anyway, so the few points here he's pointing out. He said that Shaw hasn't gone backwards. Well, there is the explanation.
Well, because I'll read it out because people might not have read it. Fullback Jamie Shaw hasn't progressed in the way Hull fans were hoping he would 18 months ago. He's way down the pecking order for an England jumper now. He's a decent fullback, but nothing more. I hope we see the Shaw of old again.
I like to see that, yeah, because I think with the situation with Shaw is, at times he gets in the comfort zone because there's no pressure on him week in and week out. There's no pressure on him that there's a fullback knocking on the door. If he doesn't perform to the standard...
Does Jamie Shaw create enough for Hull? I don't think he does.
No, he doesn't play like
He does out of dummy half because of his speed.
Yeah, but he's not a Zach Hardy.
And he doesn't link it to the line.
And he's not a Lomax, he's not a Tompkins. And when you talk about with the fullbacks, he's way behind Tompkins, he's way behind Lomax, he's even way behind Ratsford, who's not good enough international fullback for me. So
yeah, but he's very good for Warrington.
Oh, yeah, he's very good for Warrington.
Jack Walker?
No, I wouldn't say that so far. So anyway, so there's with Jamie Shaw. His consistency in performance from there, and he doesn't perform to the highest of the week because there's no pressure on him. Joe Westerman, well, they sold Joe to Warrington for whatever reasons, financial maybe from there, but Westerman, 6 games last season. I wasn't talking about Joe Westerman for the...
Well, what you've said is too many of the forwards are bang average. New contracts have been handed to players in the pack who haven't really earned them. Liam Watson, Gareth Ellis simply haven't been replaced. Nobody in the pack is anywhere near their standard. Joe Westerman had loads of potential once, but it hasn't been realised he needs to stand up.
Absolutely, yeah, and now he's getting a second chance back at the Black and Whites. And his full, when he was at Casford, he had all that full potential. I thought he was going to go again, make it an international player, knocking on the door with Sean Locker as a loose forward. Didn't happen. At Warrington again, it was the consistency of his performances. Why did Warrington let him go? Because he wasn't there week in and week out. Went to Toronto, and now he's got his second chance at the Black and Whites. Hopefully, if Joe does realise that potential and get that consistency week in and week out, he will be an asset. But when you look at the other forwards...
Well, to go back to your point,
yeah.
Gareth Ellis is left, best forward. Yeah. William Watts is left, their best forward. So the best two forwards have left. They haven't been replaced. Everyone will say, well, Scott Taylor's great. Scott Taylor is great. No one's denying
Scott Taylor's consistent.
But one man does not make a pack. And as we've seen at Leeds, with the best one in the world, Ablett and JJB are very good players. They are not the players they were 2 years ago. They'd be the first to tell you that. And Father Time catches up with players like Minicello, like Sikamanu, who are both very good players, but they're not as prominent as they were 2 years ago.
Minicello and Sikamanu, like, with Danny Washbrook, they pass the sell-by date now, week in and week out. They're not going to.
They have a role to play in a squad, of course they do, but they are not the go-to men that they once were, are they? I think that's the point you're making.
Absolutely. And when you look at the top 5 sides, or even 6 sides, Hull aren't going to be there. And then I go with Mane for Noah. He said, well, Farrymore has replaced Fano and done well. He's been average, to be honest with you. And also, too, he didn't realistically, because he must be Danny Outman's best mate. And all rejects any criticism of Outman, but didn't even address the Jez Litton point. Well, Jez Litton needs to be on the bench because they need that spark. And say with Danny Outman, listen, we all know what Danny Outman brings to Hull. We know what he brings from there. He'll play for the full 80 minutes. He'll make 5,000 tackles every game. They'll try and make some behind, but they need more variation from there. And another point is the style of play. What style of play are Hull going to do? Because they're boring and boring. If they don't change that style of play, they're good at...
Well, they used to refer to them as dull FC because they were terrible.
But they're easy to play against, and the opposition know how to play against them. You know, so... And even on the social media today, the whole fans, the majority of them, are agreeing. Hey, listen, whether I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up. But one thing for sure, at this moment in time, I won't be wrong. And now, the pressure is on for the first game of the season. They play the Red and Whites. It's going to be absolutely buzzing at the Red and Whites ground. The pressure is on from game one because let's not forget, they got absolutely hammered in the 11 games last season, what they're on an unbeaten run. They got hammered by Wakefield. They got hammered by Warrington, embarrassed by Warrington from there. We've had the chairman himself, Mr. Pearson, saying he was going to sack players, he was going to get rid of players, the attitude's no good, they're not good enough. He hasn't done that, and I'm only doing this with a response.
By Hull KR at home, and Hull KR are basically the best 6 players won't play. If memory serves right, they had a boatload missing. Everyone thought, oh, they'll get battered. They went and won.
I think that the issue is the one you've picked up on. Everybody can have an opinion about whether a player's going to be good or not next year, whether the squad's going to be deeper or they're going to go with a different style of play. But I think you hold people to account by what they say. And after that Warrington game, the statement by Adam Pearson was nobody's contract is safe. We are going to reserve the right to even get rid of people who we've re-engaged, but you will see a different set of names here.
Yeah.
And that has not happened.
No, well, as one of our erstwhile media colleagues said, Adam Pearson promised the world and delivered an atlas. He's not delivered what he said, and we've mentioned this. You know, we've mentioned it, and you know, we're lucky in the media. We get access to people, and we speak to people behind the scenes, and the message that was coming out behind the scenes is not the message that's being played out in public now. And that, you know, and I go back. I mean, I'm just reading Paul's column in the Hull Daily Mail. He says the question is, does Schofield's criticism carry any merit? He makes some valid points, controversial columnists usually do, but the vast majority of it is wayward. I would like to see which of those comments are wayward, and you know the odds will reflect where Hull are likely to finish.
But the whole Daily Mail love this. This is ready-made content.
Well, they love it because it's cheap content for themselves.
Yeah.
But it comes again. Can Paul, in his role, come out and criticise?
Well, he won't because he's a cheerleader. That's why he won't.
He will have a working relationship with people at Hull, and at the moment, the best copy he can write is in response to whatever you say. So,
but as I've said,
they want to keep this
as I've said on social media,
the pre-season.
Yeah, Rugby League craves media attention, right? And when they get it, and it's slightly negative, they don't know how to deal with it. Teams do not know how to deal with it. They don't want it. Can you imagine? And Hull's one of their biggest fans, Adrian Durham on Talk Sport. What he would have been saying if Rugby League was a mainstream sport, what he would have been saying about Hull FC last year.
Like he's been doing about
He'd been clamouring for Pearson to go, Radford to go, the players to be shipped out because they're not good enough. But yet, when someone actually asks it, a la Gary, people don't like it.
But that's an analysis. That's not just an opinion. This is why you believe that there are deficiencies in the whole squad. You haven't just said, oh, they're going to be rubbish next year and left it at that. It's not shock jock treatment. There's 10, 12 very good points as to why you think they're going to struggle. That's
they might not do,
reasonable.
and then you look a clown. But
fair play to you,
you're prepared to say that and stick with it.
Which is what happened with London.
Absolutely.
But this is what I was saying last week on Twitter. Where Scully got a load of criticism. I can't remember what it was about. Could have been anything. There aren't enough people in our sport who say anything. Whether bland and the blander. It's all right, you know, you watch Sky, you watch the Super League show, you watch whatever other media there is out there. No one's got an opinion. No one says anything. All these ex-players, recently retired ex-players or current players, aren't going to say anything that criticise their mates. So there's no point in them being on TV or radio. It's...
As an audience at home, what do you want? Do you want people that just talk in riddles, or do you want people that come out and tell you what it is? Gary Neville and Carragher have done well on the football because they say that's not good enough. You can't do that. That's not good enough. You can't do that. They point out when it's good and when it's bad.
I'll mention a name. It's one of, before Scully as a contemporary, but he was coaching in the early 90s and still played in the 80s. Graham Souness. You love him going on the telly because he doesn't care what he says because he's got the back class, if you will. We're talking about a horse, aren't we?
Yeah.
He's got the form to say, well, this is what I think because I did this, this, and this.
But when
The Manchester United midfielder, Nottingham Forest.
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane. I'd watch Roy Keane all day, every day as a panelist.
Well, when I say when I watch Super
I don't
Sports,
think I want to play under him, but...
when you mentioned Graham Souness and Gary Neville and certainly Roy Keane, sensational. Also too, like the cricket guys, they're brilliant. Even the rugby union fellas as well. But I just don't understand it from a point of view in our game. And I'm the only one who, like I said there, I'm the pantomime king. Everybody blame me for being the pantomime king for what I say, but I'll say it again. And I'm sick of saying it. I only give an opinion of what I say. I don't make things up, and I give a reason why I'm saying it. And if people don't like the open honesty, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to change. No way, mate, because I'm entitled to an opinion. I think I could play the game a little bit. I think I play with some great players. Well, I know I play with some great players. I've had some great coaches, and I've had some rubbish coaches. But at the end of the day,
I think you should come out.
At the end of the day, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Finish? Do you think they're going to be in the bottom half of the table? I think you need to lay down an ultimatum to Adam Pearson and say, right, talking's done now, right? I've said you're going to be, whatever, bottom half.
Ninth.
Right, well, you say bottom half, he thinks they're going to be in the top half. There should be some kind of charity thing or for whatever, right? And you say to Pearson, put up or shut up, right? Your team finishes in the top half, I'll apologise I got it wrong, and we'll do X, Y and Z. If they're in the bottom half, you can apologise to me, and then do it like that. Let's see what he says. Let's put it out there. Adam Pearson, if you finish in the bottom half of the table, then you have to publicly apologise to Scully. How does that sound? And if you finish in the top half, Scully will come out and apologise to you.
He'll wear his dressing gown.
He'll wear his dressing gown in your new bar and get rid of any problem.
But also as well, you said about apologising. I mean, it's not me who needs to apologise to. It's the fans, because most of the fans, I'll tell you, most of the fans, what I've been told on social media today, certainly most of them agree, because they're not stupid. The whole fans are not stupid.
They're not. Let's be fair, the whole support, is it 7,000 memberships? It's brilliant, fantastic. No one's denying Hull are not a great supporting club. We've never ever said that. Yeah? Interesting where those 7,000 were at the end of last season when you were getting hammered every week, but they still pay the money, so if they don't want to go, they don't have to go, do they? But that's the point. So there you go, Mr. Pearson. If you finish bottom half, we expect an apology for the legend. And if you finish in the top half, then we won't sack him because we can't do that.
That assume we're paying him first.
Yeah.
Speaking of things from the past.
Maybe a bath of custard, something like that.
If you don't like it, there's plenty of other Rugby League podcasts out. There's loads of them these days. They're everywhere, the buggers. But we're still 379th in Germany.
Mark, I just want to finish on this. Just the last few lines from the column I've just said, because just quite back in June, unthinkable. Back in June, where they were running fifth in the competition because of what's about. But then after they got knocked out of the Challenge Cup, and even now I've noticed a few people connected to the club still blaming their 2018 woes on injuries alone, and I'm quite simply finished. They've got to get their heads out of the sand, because if they don't, they're going to have a long, hard season.
And they're not going to Australia this year.
And again, interesting point here from Paul. He said, as for cutting players, there isn't a single top earner at the club who deserves that. Well, some of them have had poor form or injury issues. There are multiple examples in the last couple of years pointing to why they should stay. Didn't see Alex Ferguson when his team were winning the league going, it's all right, lads, no problem. We all won the league. We'll see you next year. What did he do? Goes and buys more players, better players. You stand still, you're going backwards, Paul, and I think that's what Hull FC are doing. I think secretly, if we were to speak to you, I think you'd agree with that as well.
Well, it's not just Hull, is it? As we said about Castleford, they don't appear to be moving forward.
The difference for Castleford is that they have had to upgrade the contracts of some talented younger players, or players who they've bought on to the extent now that they're playing at an international level. And under a salary cap sport, every so often you don't spend a lot of money because you
balance the books.
And at least I think Castleford can say we were in a semi-final last year and we've got the experience of being a club that is moving forward. We've got a core of players now that are of a higher level of when we bought them, and there is a price that you pay for that. I'm not sure you can say that with Hull.
No,
I think on the back of 11 straight defeats, and it shouldn't be forgotten, 2 of those were record defeats. This wasn't a team that suddenly had brought in a load of youngsters.
I'll say what I said last week, Phil. For a Super
There
League
were
team
enough
paying salary
players
cap to concede
playing-
80 points
No, and
is a
some of
disgrace.
some of that salary cap was on the sideline, as it is with every club. But there were enough people who took the field in both of those games to have not conceded a record defeat. That's the worry.
As I said at the time, if you lose 32-6 because you've got no creativity on the field, I think as
Or
a
your
fan,
kids,
you can learn.
your
You
kids
can
run
live
out
with that.
of energy.
Yeah, you can live with that, but to concede 80 points is pathetic.
I've never seen a worse performance. And think of all those games I've seen now at Belgium.
Well, I'll tell you what, when they played Wakefield, to be honest with you, I never saw the Wakefield game. I saw the Warrington on TV, but I reckon the Wakefield game was even worse. Big Fafita, for the first try, Big Fafita. He went 50 yards and literally everybody would just, well, I don't want to tackle him. I don't. What sort of attitude was that? You know what I'm saying from there, and, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but that's what
no,
obviously
anyway.
Albert Kelly saw Dave Fafita and thought that's the model I'm going to copy myself on next year. To get away with that one, I don't know.
I'm looking forward to going to with you three.
Yeah. James says,
So
put
am I.
Scully in a bath of mushy peas if full finish in the top half, he'll eat them.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, then that's what I'll do then. That's what I'll do.
Oh,
That's
no.
what I'll do. If that's the deal then. If Hull, so at the top half of the table, so they've got to finish 6 or higher, haven't they? Right? And if they finish 6 or higher, Scully's in the bath of mushy peas. There you go.
Have we got a bath?
There you go.
we'll find them.
We'll get the sponsor. Mushy peas.
Bachelor's
Bachelor's mushy peas.
Are they
A lot of
still,
mushy peas.
Bachelor's mushy peas will sort
Do
us
they
out.
deliver them by the tanker load?
are they still official partners of the Rugby Football League? Or
I don't know.
are they Super League sponsors?
We'll see.
Yeah, Super League going to take all the sponsors from the RFL as well?
I don't know. Don't know how it's
In-
going
in
to
that
work. I
big
think
break.
these are all things that have got to be worked out.
Then it's
aren't
very
they?
much like the EU and Britain.
Staff are transferring over. We are led to believe.
Well, they're still going to work in Manchester and given it's the home of where the Rugby League needs to be.
Who knows?
Simon's asked us about Greece. They're not going to be.
We answered that last week, I think.
I ain't got a clue what's going
So by the way, lads, so just we finish on Hull. Rich, where do you think Hull will finish?
on. Someone tweeted me the other day and asked me, would it be a good bet to back Hull KR to finish above Hull FC? And I said it depends on what the price is, but I wouldn't be averse to backing that.
Well, I said that.
So
right
now,
at
where
the
do
start,
you
our
think they're
first
going to
commentary.
finish?
I think the middle of the table is
7th or
very
8th,
tricky.
I think 7th or 8th.
Phil?
They won't make the top 5.
There you go. Unanimous. We're all going to be wrong together.
Yeah.
We're all going to be in a bath of peas
If
together.
we're wrong, we're wrong. We're right,
What a
we're right.
horrible thought.
It doesn't-
I'll tell you what, we'll be for sure. The pressure's on the first game of the season against
It
Everton.
is. They lose 12 defeats on the spin.
But it's who they would lose to.
Well, that's what I mean.
But
That's what I mean.
The pressure's not thanks to some people writing in the paper or sat above a bookshop in Leeds. It should be on themselves for their poor performances at the end of the season. And blaming anyone else or criticising them for that is a bit, what we're doing.
What are we doing?
Anyway.
Halifax have continued to recruit to their squad. Kevin Leroy has been signed this week. Another good bit of business for Fax.
Building their club in a different way to some others who've, I think, wanted to go full time a little bit early. I think Halifax have said there's a lot of work we want to do building the infrastructure of our club, but every so often they lost Adam Tangata, didn't they, who's been one of their big players.
Yeah.
Leroy coming in fills a little bit of that gap, so I think they actually have a vision for where they want to be and what they want to achieve, how they want to get there, and the staff that they want to take them there. And a lot of other clubs could take notice of how Halifax do their business.
Fair enough. What's happening on?
Anybody
social
guess the nation?
No, no one's guessed the nation yet. I'm guessing it's actually not a European nation now, you said. And it'd be someone
didn't
like
say that.
Mexico or something.
Azerbaijan.
Yes.
They're big in rugby league.
The Yorkshire Cup, of course, we were talking about earlier. Bruce says, what if it snows and the first weekend of games are disrupted? Playing midweek.
Could do paper,
Well,
scissors, rock.
The
Playing indoors.
1895 Cup's a midweek cup, apparently.
Playing indoors at that stadium we were watching the French game yesterday.
Apparently, we don't know.
Indoor
Is that
rugby
right?
union
Apparently.
yesterday.
Oh, it is. Right.
Indoor rugby union. That was interesting.
Playing the Richard Dunn Sport. Oh, no.
They're building a new one just down the road. It's coming on a tree.
Yeah.
It is actually. It's going to be very good, I think, when it's built.
We'll play there.
Hull KR are +4 apparently, says Steve, for the first game of the season. I'm not having a bet now on the first game of the season.
They are priced up.
No,
Had a look
I
yesterday.
know, it's a long way away yet. I mean,
It
it's
would
not a
depend
super-
if they did sign Drinkwater as well, because then that'd change the odds a little bit.
What's the order we think more? His salary? Is he still asking for too much?
Don't know. Don't know.
Why you'd think that must be, wouldn't you? Because no one signed.
You'd think if that was the issue, he wouldn't be signing for a team in a division lower rather than higher.
Well, that doesn't necessarily make, because from what the report in the paper last week was that they'd significantly bartered him down on his opening salvo. Did I read somewhere? Or did I get told 100? He would have 150, 170. I think I heard 170 grand a season. Not bad for playing a guy who was digging holes at the start of last season.
A few good months.
Just shows you how quickly the world can change.
Yeah. Well, that's been an age.
Said Theresa May.
Yeah.
Yes.
Has he got a highlights video on YouTube we can send out to people?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll be on of that. You know, our, speaking of Theresa May, our great elected representatives who, you know, couldn't find their backside with their hands tied behind their backs. Don't even know where that metaphor's going, to be honest. But they all had a bit of a shindig last week with the British Broadcasting Corporation.
They did, yeah, they did.
Down at Westminster. I thought they had more important things to do, to be honest. My MP's always never off the telly these days, talking about the bloody Brexit. Can't sort out a stadium, but never mind. We have got the Sir Rodney Walker Mega Theatres opened in Wakefield though. So that's
Has it? You've got a theatre now?
And
And a museum?
Two theatres.
You've got a theatre and a
two theatres
museum?
next door to each other. There's a proper theatre and the one next door, which is the Sir Rodney Walker one. Because in fairness...
So is it like a Super League and an RFL one?
In fairness to Sir Rodders, he did lots of work to reopen the theatre when it used to be a bingo hall.
Right.
But obviously he can't build a stadium. He's got to have his name on it. But the...
What is happening with Wakefield Stadium?
What's happening with Castlefords?
Don't deflect the attention.
I've been a politician.
I asked you a question.
I've been a politician. I don't know. There's still that big fridge thing they've built. They're not going to build a stadium.
Why don't you just buy? Why don't you go to B&Q, right, and buy a brick, right, and go cement it outside Bellevue? Say, I am building a new stadium. I've started. They're building. Then we go. When are they going to start building a new stadium? Will there be you there pointing at your brick like that?
Richard Wright with his hat.
There you go, you see, there you go. That's got him 10 years. That'll get him Wakey 10 years.
Hey Richie, I'll come out the building. That's sometimes apprentice bricklayer. I'll come out the building.
I saw that thing.
We've got some good news, lads. Wakey getting a new stadium. Scully's building it. It's going to be like a public outcry. No.
We don't want him down here. It's bad enough when he's down here commentary. We don't want him down here longer than that.
The thing on the news last week about all these modern houses that have been built with dodgy cement, and I could just imagine that.
Oh, I know what mixes. Don't worry about it. It's 1 and 6. Don't worry about that. And when it's got foundations, it's 1 and 4 or 1 and 3, whatever. So yeah, no.
Oh, whatever. But it's quite important. I do know.
It depends how many. It depends what sort of breakfast we have in the morning. If we can be bothered putting enough cement in it or sand, don't worry about that. But I know what the right mix is.
So there you go. I think you should do that. Token effort. Just go.
Yeah.
Cement.
Have a ceremony.
I tell you what, we'll put a corner.
Bit of a blue curtain.
Yeah.
Pull them apart.
We'll cut a ribbon.
We'll do 6 corners. We'll do 6 courses. We'll put a corner up and say, here we go, it started.
Block car parking space in for next year. So our MPs, of course, who are doing such a great job at the moment. Although they get their holidays soon, don't they? All the the hard-working people in the emergency services, the NHS, bar workers and whatever have to work over Christmas, but the politicians who can't deliver what they say they're going to deliver, they get a couple of weeks off.
They can deliver themselves pay rises.
They can deliver themselves pay rises, and they can deliver themselves a slap-up lunch with people from the BBC last week, because the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Rugby League. Scotty's are you the president of them or something?
You didn't even get invited.
Life member.
I didn't get invited to the do last week.
Life member.
No.
Well, you missed out on this this exciting presentation with the BBC's Director of Sport, Barbara Slater, lead sport editor, Alistair McIntyre, and Rugby League correspondent, Dave Woods. I've heard of him. They made a presentation to members of Parliament, peers honorary, I don't know what that means, and associate members of the group in the Palace of Westminster. I'm just reading from their website here. The presentation provided an overview of audiences of the BBC's coverage of the sport in 2018. This is my editorial bit coming in now, which didn't include, obviously, Jessica Ennis-Hill's Great Sporting Year documentary last week, which
did it include the Women's Cup final?
It included 0 seconds of rugby league. Did include the Super Bowl, that great British sporting event in America, but didn't include any rugby league whatsoever, including in the year in which the Catalans won the Challenge Cup.
When sports first started?
This Sunday. Don't even bother. In a great year in which the Catalans won the Challenge Cup, Wigan won the women's and men's grand finals within hours of each other. But the Super Bowl's more important, and interviewing a woman who lost at the Winter Olympics because they've got shares in her. But we're not involved in the great sporting year anyway. They also outlined the organisation's creative vision Well, they showed the rugby union varsity match in midweek, taking the snooker off. Well done, lads. Creative vision and targets for the sport in the coming years. Audience data, as we referred to earlier, showed a declining long-term trend in Challenge Cup viewing figures, which I would say so you can get the price down next time. While international fixtures were shown to be reaching a bigger audience, the BBC's coverage was also shown to score amongst the very highest of any sport, with audiences on quality.
We've
No,
never.
but that means they're going to have Robbie Paul running on the pitch all the time now. Hunter Paul. There was a particular focus on the Rugby League World Cup 2021, which is great. We're looking forward to this. Which will see 16 live matches from the men's competition on network television. That means BBC One and BBC Two, if we're still around. With the remaining matches on the Red Button or online. Good. The potential for the BBC to show the women's and wheelchair tournament fixtures across its platform was also discussed. There shouldn't be potential. That should be in the thing. That should be on. Speaking after the meeting, some MPs said some rubbish. Well, here he is, the Member of Parliament for Bradford South. Are you Bradford South?
Yeah, I don't think I'm far. Well, I actually live in Kirklees, but yeah.
Oh, is that like, you don't claim to be from Bradford, you're from the posh bit?
No, I'm from Bradford, yeah.
Judah Cummings MP anyway said, it was a pleasure to welcome Barbara, Alistair and Dave to Parliament and hear more about BBC Sports coverage of the game. The BBC plays an important role in promoting rugby league to a wider audience. Now, does it, Judith MP? Right Honourable Judith. Does it indeed?
Did Judith take over from Jerry Sutcliffe?
No, took over from Greg Mulholland.
By putting the Super League show on at 11:30 in
Greg Mulholland wasn't in Bradford, was he?
No, it was Leeds North West.
Well, she was Bradford South.
Yeah, but he was the all-party parliamentary.
I'm on about actual politicians, because obviously Jerry Sutcliffe played a key role in the
I want to ask
demise of the old Bradford Bulls.
well, this is the MP who was glad.
Funny, I've never heard from him since that.
Has he not been in touch?
No.
This was the MP who was praising Bradford for getting promoted at the third time of asking in Parliament, because there's nothing MPs like to do more than jump on a bandwagon. Anyway,
I did miss this last week,
Yeah.
didn't you, lads? Missed it.
Whilst there is more to be done to put rugby league on the agenda across all platforms, not just sport, we're going to end up with like a Dalek chasing Martin O'Fire in an old episode of Doctor Who or something. The World Cup in
Strictly
particular,
Come Dancing.
yeah, get them on there, will provide a great chance for the game to expand its reach and engage a broader audience. Blah, 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 blah. Members of the group look forward to continuing to work with the BBC Sport team. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
You looking forward to the 4020 presentation to the all-party parliamentary?
Looking forward to it. Well, this
When we
is
go
the-
down and
Can't wait.
outline our
This is
vision.
my point. There is more to rugby league media than just the BBC, and I think the MPs need to realise, and we come from a background of commercial radio, which is under the most highest pressure to save money, because there ain't no bloody money in it. They need to spread their wings out further than the BBC and speak to people, I don't want to say like us, but like us, who have a vested stake in the coverage of our sport and the rum deal it gets from the media in general, and that again goes back to that programme last week, which is supposedly covering the great sporting moments of the year and ignores rugby league completely.
Well,
And
would that be a
afterwards-
bit like Sky when they promote what we've got in
And
the
never
month of
mention
October
Super
and
Indeed,
didn't mention
indeed
the
it
grand
is.
final?
Indeed it is, and going back
But isn't that
to-
our fault?
It is our fault.
We can't blame the broadcasters for our inability to promote
But-
ourselves.
When we talk about Eddie Hearn talking about promoting new stars, and I can't speak to Tommy Makinson for a national radio station, it goes back to the same thing. Working with partners across the sport, says Alistair McIntyre, who has the same job, I think, that the guy who once said rugby league sold its soul to Sky once upon a time, but never said anything about cricket or football or union. Working with partners across the sport, we hope to put the Challenge Cup in a stronger position in coming years, and are incredibly excited by the opportunity that the Rugby League World Cup.
I think there's a hint there in that sentence. Whoever we partner with the Challenge Cup in the future, that if the Hearns were to get involved in the sport, it would be for the Challenge Cup, which is the event that they've been to, and Eddie Hearn spoke about that on his interview. And there's a hint there that broadcasters other than themselves and Sky might get involved in it. And you can imagine Eddie going in there going, I don't know why you dropped Toronto, you git, but now I can't sell it. But I'm going to give it to Channel 4, and they want at least 2 games from all the early rounds, and they want to show the final on delay, but no more than 2 hours after it's finished. And we want access to dressing rooms, and we want to, whatever it is they want to do, 6 players have got to have green hair, or however he wants to promote it. We have got promotable stars. We genuinely have. The one other exciting thing about looking ahead at the moment is the signings that clubs over here have made from the NRL. Whereas we've had an exodus over the last few years. It may not have been by much, but we've lost more star name players to the ones that we've brought in. And we knew that some of the ones we were bringing in, like Ben Barber, were here to rehabilitate. They weren't here to create a long-term commitment to our game. They were using it, understandably from their point of view, as a stepping stone to get back to the competition that they really wanted to play in. You look round who's coming in 2019 across a whole range of teams, and we've got the stars next year to promote. We've got some young kids coming through who we need to elevate. We've got some England guys who people might not have heard of until we beat New Zealand in a series. And let's be honest, to the general watching public, beating New Zealand in a form of rugby is a good thing. It doesn't matter who's playing for either team. You know, you beat New Zealand, you're the kid on the wing that scored all the tries. Yeah, who do you play for? I'd like to hear about you some more. And we've now got some genuine star names coming from the NRL, but of an age where they're not serving out their pension, signing contracts of a length where they are making a commitment to the game over here. Again, you look at St Helens and their recruitment this year. Barber was great for them last year, absolutely no question about that. Deserved all the accolades he got. People who view him at the end of his stay as opposed to in the early part of the season where he did set the competition on fire. People were paying to go and watch him play. They've now got 3 very good players, very, very good players for the price of 1. So I think we've got some top talent coming in. It's really exciting.
But we need to.
And again, don't want to go back to the whole debate because we've exhausted today. But who is, there are very few clubs that haven't entered into that to even say, we have to sign a marquee player because not only do we need them in our team, but the sport needs them.
But we need to push these people because at the moment, the only players who've been getting any media attention are Zach Hardacre and Scott Moore. For completely the wrong reasons. I understand the redemption angle. I understand people want to tell a story based on that.
They are newsworthy, but what I object to, and I think we mentioned it a bit last week, is that too many of our stories about administrators, owners, chief executives, I'm not really interested what they've got to say because in the same way as a politician, the proof of anything they say is in what they deliver. Whereas I want to know a bit more about why Conrad Hurrell's laughing all the time.
Why is Trent Owen giving up life in Australia in the sunshine to come and play for Leeds? What has attracted him as a top level player to come over here right now? I want to know these.
I think Blake Austin is an incredibly marketable personality. And we've now got ammunition. The trouble is, it's in a competition that is different to the one that the Hearns are being introduced to. So all of this fractured game, we cannot afford.
Oh, there was no coverage of Women's Rugby League on the BT Sports Women's Awards either last week, because I watched that. Even in the year when it's never had a higher profile.
But congratulations on Wakefield's elevation.
Yeah, well, we're excited. Yes. Oh, yeah, I can stop pretending to like Leeds now. So.
By the way, I just had a message on social media. Richard Clift, son of Bill Clift, who passed away, of course, recently, has just sent a message. He wanted to know if Gary is on Facebook. No, is the answer to that one. But he wanted to thank you for your lovely post about his dad who recently passed away.
Yeah, great bloke, Bill. I think his funeral's next Wednesday. We'll be attending that. And yeah, great man, Bill. Like I say, not just for the professional game. He signed me at Brownlee. I went to play at Brownlee. I had 6 games at Brownlee. Great bloke, Bill. But also the great work he did for the Casford Academy. Not the professional, but the school.
Yeah.
And the relationship he had with a team out in Brisbane from there. And their lads went over, built it out for about 2 or 3 months from there. Sorted all that. Highly respected. Wally Lewis, he got plenty of respect for Bill. But yeah, all the great work, what Bill did. Very, very sad loss of the game. And I tell you what, if everybody in Rugby League were like Bill Clift, like the great Mr. Harry Jepson who lost a couple of years ago, I tell you what, the game would be.
We wouldn't have all the divisions.
Correct. The game would be in a fantastic place. And
director at Bramley as well.
Yeah, he was the chairman there with Geoffrey Wine and a couple of the guys there. But just he's off the field and his enthusiasm for the game was sensational.
Well, I always say the mark of someone is when they pass away, the number of comments, and there were a huge number of comments from a wide degree.
Touched a lot.
It wasn't just in his community, if you like.
Oh no, just the game, just the game as a whole.
Schoolboy Rugby League, he was an incredible supporter of that.
Yeah. Well, Richard listens in from Australia, so he wanted to send his thanks for your comments. So appreciate that. And thanks for listening, Richard. Thanks
I'll be paying my respects to you down next week at the funeral next Wednesday.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. Any more happening on social media?
Lots of Warrington fans are very excited. I should say before I forget, Stephen Cram, our friend.
Yes, he's on the mend.
Yeah, he sent me a message yesterday asking for a signed photo and I forgot to reply. So we'll sort you something out.
Hold on, I thought he wanted to get better.
Well, I know.
You want a signed photo of Gary?
I'll tell you what we'll do with a team, because you know I've got some balls at home, whatever you. We'll send him a ball as for Christmas present. All right.
There you go. There you go.
We'll send you a ball. I'll bring it next week. You can put it on the picture there. We'll all sign it for him, and
you never know. We might be broadcasting not far from where he lives.
Yeah.
Yes, we might be coming to see you at Wakefield soon. Stephen.
Warrington. I thought it was Warrington or Wakefield.
No, Wakefield.
Other places.
Cass.
Well, I try to get outside of Yorkshire at some point. I know people think we're Yorkshire biased, but
yes.
Toronto.
By the way, on the sad subject of people passing away, my uncle Alan passed away last week. He was a big fan of Gary actually, and I mean I'm not joking at this point. I'm not joking. He's a huge fan. He was an old-fashioned bloke, my uncle Alan. He says it as he sees it, a bit like Gary. And Gary gets a lot of hammer, but what I will say about Gary, he came to see my Uncle Alan, who was terminally ill, and spent probably about a good hour or so. And I think my Uncle Alan probably told you a few things about rugby. And I just wanted to thank Gary publicly, because he didn't have to do it, and he did it, and it was brilliant. It was actually quite a proud moment, and I know my family are very grateful to you for that. So
I tell you what, I loved it as well, because the characters who we mentioned, going, big Bradford fan, but the characters,
Well, he mentioned them to me, and I didn't really know who they were, but you knew.
And you mentioned with the big Jim Mills and the Tony Fishers and the Dennis Harleys and the Mark really, when the game was really tough from there, and also as well, Matt, I took in that ball and presented it to him, and I could see, just the big thing for me was it was the first time I'd ever met him from there. Well, the genuine respect he gave me, and I say the stories from there, what we was talking about, and it took me back to the years when, as I say, when I was watching the game as a kid, watching the league with the John Holmeses and the Smith.
Did he mention Tony Fisher?
Tony Fisher, Bradford Man, and Jeff Grace and all this sort of thing, and totally enjoyed the hour's conversation. When he told me last week that he passed away, very very sad, but one thing for sure, he would have put the smiles on all your family's faces, because I only got to know him for an hour. But one thing for sure, one thing for sure, he was a character.
He was. Thank you for that. I'd like to say that publicly.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Steve's asked us, are we going to broadcast any time on Twitter? Well, maybe one day when we get some more equipment.
We're hoping Santa, of course. We've all put our letter in to Santa. We're hoping that will be answered in the new year. Stand by. We've got some good news for you coming in the new year.
We would have asked for an RFL grant, but I don't think we're going to get one. Ron,
we've got £4.81 to invest.
£2.50. I'm going to keep booking on my own.
Ron attended the BBC presentation last week to Parliament. It was superb. Should be we paid for the bloody thing. 78% of all people last season who watched Rugby League saw it on the BBC. The other ones were watching on dodgy feeds on the internet. They desperately want changes to Challenge Cup scheduling. They want to bring production values of the Olympics to Rugby League. Can only do the last point. It's them cameras and stuff. They can choose what they want.
I don't think anyone's ever questioned the coverage.
Can they schedule the Super League show better? I'll just not bother and stick it online.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point. Someone was earlier. I was reading. I think it was in York City Knights Twitter asking people what they do. And someone said, "Why isn't there a magazine program on YouTube every week about the Championship and League One or whatever?" The Rugby Football League have a budget. It's up to them to use it wisely.
Yeah.
If you pay, if you want something good, you have to pay for it.
People have offered, and not just us. I keep mentioning it. We offered a long time ago to do a Championship League One show,
and a women's show,
and a lot of other people have offered as well. We're not saying we need to do it. We're not saying they need to do it, but people are offering. But the RFL, you've got to meet halfway. You've got to meet people halfway. That's the thing.
And again, I can't remember what they called her RLTV program. It was well professionally produced program, but they need funding as well. If you want all these things,
people don't. There's a saying in life: only certain people work for free. And this is not volunteering. You've got. These are the people offering a great service. You've got support.
And I think they proved it. I think that there is a case for saying, can you prove what you can do? And when you have, you need to be rewarded for what you can do. And I think people have proved what you can do. For example, the game on Friday, which will be a fantastic game. Started the programme by saying, if you can go and watch it, go and watch it. If I was in charge of the R-League app, I would not show that game live. That is a perfect example of either saying pay a couple of quid if you want to watch it live, or we'll show it you know.
later on.
Is it,
10
well, all
o'clock
right,
at
then,
night.
going the other way, is there,
Because
is there not merit for this being shown on the BBC? Be it on the Red Bull
Yeah,
or on the
absolutely.
website,
Absolutely.
would
It's
that
being
get it to a
filmed
bigger
everywhere.
audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
And get it out there, you know, that this is, you know,
Well, you're
international
a-
rugby league.
Running.
It's got that cachet of England and Australia.
Let's be fair, if
We
it were
don't-
Tiddlywinks, we'd want to beat them.
Absolutely.
We don't play them often enough.
Yeah,
We're already 1-0 up in the series, so we can't lose, which is great.
yeah.
Haven't lost a home series to them
We
since
can't lose on
2006.
snookers, can we? On scoring out like that.
But why wouldn't you want to see the cream of English talent play the best the Australians have got to offer? And you go back right to the very beginning of schoolboy rugby. I think the first Australian schoolboy team had Les Boyd in it. So, you know, you're talking about guys who you can watch and pick out the future stars.
Do you
It's
think?
just
Do you
brilliant.
think the NRL or the Aussie schoolboys will go back? I'm sure someone's been designated on keeping an eye on these kids and saying about the British lads.
Yes,
Oh, right,
Or
no,
the-
sorry,
100%.
yeah, yeah.
English lads.
100%.
You want to be having a look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
You know, he looks like he might
100%.
be.
Well, them guy on camera, is it Peter Mulholland who's on camera? But he loves all the British talent over here. You know why? You think they've got so
Well, he
much
was at
camera
Paris.
from there? Yeah, you know.
He,
So,
he
yeah.
knows the Super League
Yeah,
inside.
so he knows all
Ian
the kids who are
Millward
coming
at St
through.
George is another one who.
Yeah.
But they'll go back with the whole dossier and all the film of how good our kids are.
So I'd love to
But then
see.
part of it should be that our kids get a couple of years
Well,
playing
we said it
in
there,
an
we said it-
NRL
we said it
system.
last
So
week,
no,
last
don't
week.
worry about
I'd tell you
it.
what, I'd love to see a couple of our halfbacks being, picked out from there, try and take over, being the main man and be the organising Australia.
Well,
I'd
the
love to see
halfbacks on Saturday were Smith and McClelland.
Mm.
They were superb.
Well, McLeod's not going to get a start late for a few years, is it?
Well,
with what they've done.
The way he played in that game, you'd have to consider him, even if it's just to see what he can do. It's an embarrassment of riches, which is great. That's what
Well,
you
get him
want,
in.
isn't it? That's
Get him
what
in
you
then.
want.
Well,
He'll
you mentioned that. You know, Cameron Scott played for Hull in the
Mhm.
Super League. Didn't he,
Captain.
last year?
Yeah, he
Innes
was
and
captain.
Lewis Senior both played. You know, we expect Callum McClellan to play this time. So some of them kids have played.
Mhm.
Tom Holroyd played for Leeds, didn't he? So
Mm.
they have had their.
And they'll get more because
chance.
if they can do it at this level, then they're proving to their clubs and
Well,
coaches.
it's a bit of a
They deserve a
CV
chance.
thing. If
It
you're
is.
part of this squad, that should it win 2-0, I played in that team. You know,
I don't want a chance.
the old knock on the door.
Correct.
Come on,
Well,
when's
I
my
think
turn?
it's 2002 that England first won a series here against the schoolboys. Gareth Hock, Ryan Bailey. They cemented their reputations as kids in games like that. Richie Mathers played standoff for the only time in his career. It was brilliant for England schoolboys in that series.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier about Catalans and Wigan playing on the weekend, but there's no other games in France. When Wigan play the Sydney Roosters, points out Graham, there's other games on that.
2 other games.
And Championship and League One. Speaking of Wigan, lots of people from Warrington are very excited about Blake Austin. They think that 2019.
I think it's going to be.
Don't
I think it's going to be.
No,
No, hold on.
It's going to be there.
Listen,
Yeah.
just because I
Oh,
went 3 weeks ago, are you all taking notice of the legend for once?
It's a Warrington
Same.
match.
Are you all taking notice for the legend for
Just like the
the
last one.
Eh?
Just like this one, it's going to be their year.
I'm asking the
What-
question, are you all taking notice of the legend? Warrington, nothing to
No,
stop.
nobody takes any notice.
Warrington for the treble?
What it will do is, again, talking of style of play, because you brought up the way Hull play. Adrian Lamb has said he wants Wigan to play slightly differently, even though they're defending champions. If you've got Blake Austin in your team, you have to play differently. You have to use him. If you're bringing him over as your marquee, pivotal player, he is not Tyrone Roberts. He is not the guy just to get you around the field. You need to get the ball in his hands. He needs to do stuff.
Well, Ben Curry in the League Express today said, even in training, it just looks sensational, and he said he's just going to be an absolute tornado for all the opposition defences. He's just going to rip them apart, and I'll tell you, I'm very much looking forward to seeing him play. And again, I'll go early. Is he the man of steel for 2019?
Well, he is X Factor, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt.
He's
Yeah,
X
he's.
Factor.
We should be everywhere. We should be on every TV programme.
And I'll tell you what as well, it'd be great for Declan Patton, because if I were advising Declan, I'd say, listen, don't just be watching him on the training paddock, and also obviously.
We'll be watching him when he's sat on the bench. What? We're watching.
Well,
Or on Joe
Well,
Redknapp's
that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping not on the same, but for Declan's point of view, for the learning curve, just watch everything what he does around the dressing room and all this sort of. Just watch the little things what he does, because you do the little things right, it brings a bigger picture.
It'd be nice for a new team to win the Super League title.
It would.
we need it.
Yeah, KPW 81. Not sure if that's what this is I mentioned today, they say, but Wigan did their second annual Community Blitz,
Brilliant.
giving up their whole day to hospitals, washing emergency vehicles, and other
Fantastic.
projects across the town. And it is that time of year
Well
where
done, boys.
you
Oh,
see all the
brilliant.
teams going into
I
hospitals and
think
seeing kids.
Castleford spent the weekend on a farm in Cumbria, helping
So-
out with all the duties there, whilst also having a physical session. Brilliant.
I think Salford tweeted earlier about them going to a children's hospital. And there was a room full of selection boxes and toys for the kids. You know, rugby league is and all sports. You know, they all
every club will go to
stuff,
children's hospital. Brilliant.
Sandy is impressed by Major League Baseball, who are selling out a game in London in June. The Yankees and the Red Sox, but the Rugby Football League can't sell out a finals game in England, even though it's a British sport. # strange marketing. I guess it's the first time baseball's been over here with a proper game. People are willing to pay a ridiculous amount of money for tickets to see it. So
it's an event. It's an event. It's an event. Yeah, it's an event.
Well, it's all right. We've got the Yorkshire Cup. It's an event. Come to see teams you were going to see play each other again later. That's why I'm not. I'm not. It's not hypocrite. Someone said I was a hypocrite. If Super League had come up with the idea, I'd be behind it.
Well, yeah, you got ridiculed, didn't you?
Which Halifax liked that tweet. So I thought, yeah, thanks Halifax. We stick up for you on this show all the time. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But I've got no interest in seeing Wakefield versus Huddersfield pre-season when I know I'm going to see it properly. I'm not being a hypocrite about that. I've got no interest in seeing games we're going to see properly. What's the point? That's why, you know...
Well, one of the big games in the Championship next year will be Bradford and Halifax. There's a real rivalry between those two teams. It's a local derby. It hasn't happened for a few years. So they're going to play each other in the Yorkshire Cup as well.
And at the Bash. And twice in the league. And potentially in the playoffs. And could meet in the cup.
We love over-egging our pudding.
We do.
But the interesting thing then is...
Or over-eggnogging our pudding.
And it
well,
would be...
See what you did.
Looking at... To use another sport as an example, ice hockey in this country, I guess basketball's the same, where you've only got...
Not using Speedway?
No. Well, Speedway's bad.
Don't want you upsetting any Speedway.
You've only got so many teams, haven't you? There's a limited number of teams in their division, and they play each other a lot, and they play 2 games every weekend, and yet they still can draw in crowds. So what do they do to get people to come back all the time that we can do to infuse people about loop fixtures, or are we just all too cynical and just sick of it?
I just think the season's too long. We've said it for years that theoretically our pre-season in terms of one, not calendar season, but one fixture season ending and the other beginning is 12 days in the most physical contact sport that you have. That can't be right. You can't market something if it's too much of it.
What if Major League Baseball have paid the going rate to play in the Olympic Stadium as opposed to the football club that pays them?
No.
Oh, that's my team, West Ham.
Wait.
Hey, they've won 3 games in a week.
Listen, mate, we're blowing the bubbles, don't worry about that. We're blowing the bubbles.
4020 magazine.
I'm forever blowing
on the radio on Saturday.
Pretty bubbles in the
We need to get him to go to Swinton a few times to mention it.
All right, shut up.
Not only that, but Harry Redknapp was...
No, we won the jumbo, I was gutted, I had a 5 on Emily. So, bad times.
Big investment that for the RSW.
Well, it's almost the same as
if I get in there next year, don't be voting me out, will you? Huh?
What chance was getting you on? I don't know.
We'll get you on some trials. It'll probably run up about a £300,000 phone bill getting you voted in all the trials, but it'd be worth it. It'd be worth it. Any more for any more? Because we're nearly done. Another 2 hours is shot by again.
With nothing happened with one game. And we covered that within the first 2 minutes of the programme.
Yeah.
Go watch England. I guess that's the message.
Yes, it is. Friday night. You going, Phil?
100%.
You getting a beers in or what?
If you want, yeah. Pleasure. Christmas, isn't it?
Could be the 40-20 Christmas do, couldn't it?
Well, I'm in Blackpool, so that'll save you a few quid on
well, I'll save you a wicked.
I was going to say, are we having a Christmas...
well, we need to record the Christmas show as well at some point.
5:30 is the draw for the Challenge Cup.
As it's called now, the Challenge Cup, yeah.
Who's doing it?
Some bloke from Toronto.
Some bloke from Belgrade. And then the game at 7:30. What could be fine?
Who's doing the draw, don't you know?
They haven't sent us the email yet. It'll be coming out later this week.
It's on Friday.
Yeah, but we don't need to.
Yeah, well.
It's
Does it
Richard
matter?
Bacon. No, it's not Richard Bacon.
We could have the 40-20 do at the original Oak where they do Christmas pizzas.
Phil's had a Christmas pizza today.
Yeah.
How long have we got left on the programme? 2 minutes. Tell the people about the Christmas pizza.
It's an odd concept. That the ingredients that go into
Where did
a
you buy
Christmas at the original Oak pub in Headingley.
Do they want to sponsor
So-
the programme?
Anybody who is going to the game on Friday that wants to go into the original Oak beforehand, order yourself a Christmas pizza. So all the ingredients that you would have on your Christmas dinner, your pigs in blankets and your stuffing and your cranberry sauce and turkey, is all on a pizza. And there's a little pot of gravy in the middle.
Gravy and pizza.
Well, it's
I'm not
Speaking of
Phil,
our
not
sure.
food expert.
Phil, it's pantomime season. Oh no, I won't.
You would if somebody bought it. Wouldn't you?
Gravy and pizza.
That's
Oh,
all.
yes, he would.
So that's tonight's bombshell. Gravy with
Gravy and
pizza.
pizza. I'll bring some rocker next week, so we're off to Blackpool for the weekend to scout for the summer bash. So I'll bring some rocker along.
Right.
Not the
Very
root
good.
rock, though.
Very good. Very good. Is that you done then, Rich?
Yeah,
Are we all done?
I think we're just about it. Apart from Toby slagging off the RFL. Oh, Sandy asked, did it have Brussels sprouts on it?
Fortunate for everybody in the
Right,
room to know.
Ah.
And Toby asked when is Scully going to buy you a curry? Oh, come on. When the Challenge Cup's got
There's
to
no one hoping that Keithley plays scoring more than me, I can assure you. On that note, we are off. The £5 bid is going in.
No,
Is it withdrawn? It's chucking it away now. £5 we're coming for the Challenge Cup.
The RFL could
The
have had it.
4020 Challenge Cup.
Phone never rang.
The phone never rang, but hey, never mind, we'll be there. Thank you to everyone that's watched, thank you to everyone that's got in touch, be that on Facebook, on YouTube. Download the podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube, that number going up by the week, much thanks for that. We will see you next week. The Rugby League season might be over, but we'll still be here. We'll see you then.